Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Pirates, sign in at the beginning of the Naruto character card. Chapter 31. As soon as these words came out, Shaw Crocodile's eyes immediately showed a strong murderous look. What exactly do you want to come here to find me? After all, Shaw Crocodile is also a smart person, so he naturally knew that Chin Chuan and the others had come all the way here to make trouble, and it was definitely not because of that berry. And according to his speculation, Chin Chuan must also know that this is his territory, so their motives are very suspicious. It's nothing, actually I quite like you, so I came to Alabasta to bet on you, what do you think? Haha, it's okay to gamble with me, but what do you want to take away from me? Shaw Crocodile sneered after hearing this. It's nothing, I still need a thug now, I think you are a person who has a devil fruit of nature, so come and play with me. Chin Chuan said seriously. And when Chin Chuan finished speaking, Shaw Crocodile was taken aback for a moment, and then immediately burst out laughing. Is it funny? Chin Chuan asked back on the spot. Chin Chuan, why did you let me be your thug? It's not because you defeated the so-called Shanks pirates, right? Shaw Crocodile is a natural type devil fruit capable user, and he doesn't think he will lose to the guys in the new world. So even after hearing that Chin Chuan had defeated Shanks, the captain of the red-haired pirates, and snatched his main battleship, Shaw Crocodile still didn't have the slightest fear. There's no need for me to tell you about the scandal you did in Alabasta, right? After I defeat you, I'll tell you all about how you and your Baroque work agency framed the king here. I'm afraid that your information about the ancient weapon Pluto will be lost, and your identity as Shichibukai will be immediately deprived by the world government. At that time, I am afraid that if I want to see you in the future, I will have to go to the infinite hell in the city of advancement. Quote. Chin Chuan said word by word. And when he finished speaking, Crocodile began to sweat on his forehead. Not only that, even Douglas Barrett beside Chin Chuan looked at him in astonishment. The reason why they were surprised was that Chin Chuan actually mentioned the ancient weapon Pluto just now. Pluto is one of the three ancient weapons with the name of God in the world of pirates. It is not a weapon in the true sense, but has been called the worst warship in the history of shipbuilding. Pluto was built from the capital of seven waters. It is so powerful that it can destroy an island directly with a single shot. But now it is sleeping somewhere in the world, and its location can only be understood by those who can understand the text of history. Interesting, are you also here for Pluto? Shaw Crocodile asked seriously, while his right hand had already begun to caress the poisonous golden hook on his left hand. Obviously, since Chin Chuan has mentioned the ancient weapon Pluto, it may be difficult to avoid this war today. I'm not interested in Pluto, and I still rely on battleships these days, aren't you afraid of being embarrassing if you say it? And I said, this time, the purpose of coming here is you, so do you want to gamble with me? Quote. Then I'll have to gamble with you, but honestly, I haven't met a guy as interesting as you in a long time. And from the current point of view, you really have some skills, otherwise Douglas Barrett would not be willing to be behind you. Quote. Shaw Crocodile's words were obviously mocking Douglas Barrett for being Chin Chuan's follower, and he wanted to use this to irritate the other party and cause them to have internal strife. But at this time, Douglas Barrett was unmoved after hearing this sarcasm. Since Chin Chuan defeated Shanks in front of him last time, he began to have real admiration for Chin Chuan in his heart. After all, he also called Shanks himself before this, so he knows how strong Shanks is than anyone else. And if Chin Chuan didn't take action and let him deal with the entire red-haired pirates with his own strength, then his end is likely to be defeated. Okay, this game is very simple, I will turn the wheel, and you will guess the number. Chin Chuan then said leisurely. What's the bet? You lose, come with me. If you win, then I will beat you with my own hands, and then let the whole world know about your sneaky tricks. How? Quote. After hearing Chin Chuan's bet, Shaw Crocodile was already very murderous. He really didn't know why Chin Chuan could know about him. He is a person who is good at planning. Although the Baroque Work Club was formed by him alone, everyone in the whole club does not have their real names, and they are all called by code names. So that is to say, it is extremely difficult for someone inside to collude with each other or learn the details of each other. And now how does this guy who just came out of Push City know about himself? This undoubtedly confused him. In addition, and more importantly, Qin Chuan seemed to have come prepared today. He was already a little worried when facing Douglas Barrett. But right now, Qin Chuan seems to be stronger than Douglas Barrett, and his members are scattered all over the place, so now he can only fight 2 with 1. Come or not, you only have one chance. Qin Chuan urged him again after seeing Sha Crocodile hesitating on the spot. Okay, I'll play with you, I'll bet 7, let's go. Sha Crocodile said seriously. Okay, if you decide to leave, you won't regret it, this is the rule here, turn around. Following Qin Chuan's order, he made a sudden force with his right hand, and directly turned the entire turntable quickly. And just as everyone focused all their eyes on the turntable, Sha Crocodile rushed towards Qin Chuan in front of him with one stride. After all, we are all grown-ups, and naturally we all know that the turntable is meaningless. In this world, only fists are the most important thing. So when Sha Crocodile came over suddenly, Qin Chuan easily dodged aside with a teleportation technique. The next moment, Sha Crocodile's poisonous hook swiped fiercely, tearing the turntable instantly. Hey, you were wrong, this game is not yet decided. Qin Chuan said quietly after stepping aside. HMPH, the winner has already been decided, you will lose today. Sha Crocodile snorted softly, and then stretched out his right hand. The next moment, a sandstorm instantly formed in his hands. HMPH, how dare you use an axe in my class? The third door of the 8 doors, the door of life, open it for me. When Qin Chuan began to radiate green energy from top to bottom, the sandstorm in Sha Crocodile's hand was already spinning at high speed. Die to me, Sha Lan. Sha Crocodile did not wait for Qin Chuan to attack, but threw out the desert storm that had already formed in his hand very quickly. This high-speed desert storm whizzed towards Qin Chuan crazily. At this time, all the sundries around him were blown away by the desert storm. Many people around were also blinded by this storm. Sha Crocodile not only can control the direction of its travel, but this desert storm will continue to grow in strength as it travels. And if it is used at close range, it can even smash rocks and blow down a building, so it is extremely lethal. But even so, when the desert storm rushed towards Qin Chuan gave a loud shout, and then slammed into the desert storm directly. Seeing Qin Chuan's actions, everyone on the scene was startled. Especially Douglas Barrett. He had fought against Sha Crocodile back then, so he naturally knew the strength of the other party. Seeing Qin Chuan abruptly breaking into the opponent's attack trap now, he couldn't help but sweat for Qin Chuan. And after seeing Qin Chuan rushing into his own desert storm without any defensive measures, Sha Crocodile finally showed a strange smile on the corner of his mouth. But the next moment, an accident appeared. I saw Qin Chuan rushing out of the high-speed spinning desert storm just like that. At the same time, the green light on his body became even more dazzling. Seeing this scene, Sha Crocodile frowned slightly, and immediately spread his right hand to grab Qin Chuan's neck on the spot. But Qin Chuan was already running at high speed at this time, and it was impossible for him to catch him easily. When he rushed to Sha Crocodile's side, he suddenly supported the ground with one hand, and then kicked directly towards Sha Crocodile's chin. This speed was so fast that Sha Crocodile couldn't make any defensive measures at all. But just when Qin Chuan thought he was about to succeed, when he kicked Sha Crocodile, it seemed as if he kicked the air. The next moment, Sha Crocodile's entire face instantly turned into a pile of fine sand. Elementalization. At this moment, Douglas Barrett, who was not far away, frowned slightly. In the world of pirates, only a strong enough armed domineering can really hurt people who can be elementalized. His armed domineering is strong enough, but he doesn't know whether Qin Chuan has armed domineering. After all, from the very beginning, Qin Chuan didn't seem to have any devil fruit ability, let alone domineering. Qin Chuan didn't expect his attack to be dodged by the opponent. Although the opponent's body can be elementalized, if he is fast enough, he should be able to hurt the opponent before the opponent's body is elementalized. But now it seems that this trick has not worked. Immediately afterwards, before Qin Chuan could back down, the pool of fine sand returned to Sha Crocodile's neck, and then an identical head was formed again. Boy, it looks like you don't have the domineering look. Then you're really doomed. The arc-shaped sand dunes. Sha Crocodile smiled sternly, and then he instantly magnified his arm, and then made his arm into a crescent-shaped sand blade. Seeing this scene, Qin Chuan was shocked. As long as this thing touches the enemy's body, it will be sucked up by the terrifying move of all the water, so that the enemy will eventually fall down and become a mummy lacking water. And when Sha Crocodile's sand blade slashed towards him, Qin Chuan couldn't use the instant body technique at all, so he could only bend down instinctively to try to avoid the attack. However, relying on the speed brought by opening the third door of the 8 Dunjia, he successfully avoided the sand blade attack. But he still left Sha Crocodile with a gap to attack. The next moment, Sha Crocodile took advantage of the situation and kicked Qin Chuan directly at the waist. Boom! Qin Chuan flew out of the casino lobby in an instant and landed directly on the sand outside. After a second of astonishment, everyone around came back to their senses, and then everyone started cheering and jumping for joy. At the same time, Douglas Barrett also rushed to Qin Chuan's side immediately. "Captain Qin Chuan, are you okay? Or let me do it, my armed domineering is more than enough to deal with him," Douglas Barrett said in a deep voice. And then, Sha Crocodile also flashed in front of them. "Boy, don't think that you don't know how much you weigh after making waves in Advanced City. Even Douglas Barrett can't save you today." But at this moment, Qin Chuan not only did not choose to let Douglas Barrett take action, but pushed him away, then wiped a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed. Qin Chuan's weird behavior immediately confused everyone. "Captain," Douglas Barrett wanted to say something more, but Qin Chuan stretched out his hand to signal him not to speak. "Your physical attack has no effect on me, understand? No matter how fast your speed is, no matter how strong your attack is, it doesn't make any sense, so even if you can defeat the red-haired pirates, it is impossible to defeat me. So, go to hell with me." "Desert Sword," Sha Crocodile said in a deep voice. Immediately afterwards, he began to turn his arms into sand blades and release them instantly. The next moment, a purple lightning burst out along a straight line, and this purple lightning instantly cut the ground in half, as if it was unstoppable. Not only is the game not over yet, but it's only now. Qin Chuan smiled slightly. The next moment, 2 system voices sounded in Qin Chuan's mind. Ding! Terumi Mei character card was successfully exchanged, and the system will automatically deduct 300,000 reputation points from the host. Ding! The host successfully used the Terumi Mei character card, and the number of possessions used -1. Just when Qin Chuan was kicked away and other people were talking, he had already opened the system store for the first time and began to browse. It is actually very simple to deal with Sha Crocodile's elementalization, because its elementalization component is sand, so as long as his body is touched with water or other liquids, then he cannot automatically elementalize. At that time, ordinary physical attacks will be able to hurt him. So Qin Chuan immediately chose Terumi Mei, the birthplace of water-type ninjutsu, and Mizukage from the land of water. Although Terumi Mei's character card needs 300,000 reputation points, Qin Chuan is now rich and powerful, and he can just exchange it for it. After feeling that Terumi Mei was officially possessed, Qin Chuan immediately activated her exclusive ninjutsu through his mind. Water Escape Water Array Pillar. The next moment, when the purple thunderbolt was about to explode in front of him, Qin Chuan opened his mouth wide, and spit out a water ball that looked like a falling meteorite. This water polo attack exploded instantly after touching the purple lightning. Boom! The 2 powerful attacks caused a powerful shock wave after the collision. The windows of the surrounding houses were all shattered in an instant. The powerful shock wave also caused the 2 of them to step back a few steps respectively. What kind of move is this? Sha Crocodile's face instantly sank. He was almost beheading the opponent successfully, but the opponent spit out a water ball from his mouth. No one knew better than him where his strengths and weaknesses were, so when Qin Chuan was able to launch a water attack, he began to panic. And Douglas Barrett was also puzzled. Qin Chuan's moves looked chaotic, without any rules at all. Although he has lived in this world for decades, and has seen many famous people in the world, but no one can always use some attack moves that he has never heard of before like him. You like to elementalize to avoid my attacks, right? Then I'll let you elementalize as much as you can. Water Escape Mist Concealment. As soon as Qin Chuan finished speaking, he opened his mouth again and spit out a lot of thick fog from his mouth. These dense fogs obscure large areas of the surrounding environment. Not only that, because there was a lot of moisture in the dense fog, so when Sha Crocodile touched the dense fog, he obviously felt that his body became a little uncomfortable. This kind of discomfort means that his body has already touched the water, and it will be more difficult to elementalize next. But the worst thing is not this, it is that I am now trapped in the fog, with extremely low visibility. So the next moment, his right hand once again gathered a powerful desert storm. This desert storm has a wider range than before, and it is extremely fast, and its lethality has also increased a lot. This is the heavy Shalon, and also the strengthened version of Shalon. He could only use this high-speed rotating desert storm to completely blow away the dense fog around him. But before he released the desert storm in his hand, suddenly an attack burst from the front. When the attack broke through the thick fog, Sha Crocodile's face changed drastically. It turned out to be a liquid attack in the shape of a real dragon. And this attack is exactly the basic ninjutsu of water escape released by Qin Chuan, water escape water dragon bullet. The water dragon pierced through the desert storm made of sand and wind in an instant, and then directly hit Sha Crocodile's chest hard from the front. Bang! With a sound, Sha Crocodile flew back directly. At the same time, the desert storm in the hands of Sha Crocodile also came to an abrupt end. The next moment, when the fog cleared, Sha Crocodile, who seemed to be winning, was lying on the ground. On the other hand, Qin Chuan stood not far away and looked at him with a relaxed face. At this moment, the scene suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Everyone was in the mist just now, and it was impossible to see what happened. After the mist cleared, the situation on the scene has undergone such a huge change. Immediately afterwards, Sha Crocodile couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, Qin Chuan's water escape attack successfully hit him and caused some damage to him. But he also knew that this ordinary water dragon bomb attack could not successfully defeat it. So he was ready to launch the next wave of attacks on Sha Crocodile again. But at this moment, there was a loud noise behind him. At this time, everyone turned their heads to look. I saw a tall, muscular, bald man dressed in a Shaolin monk-style attire, with snake patterns on both sides of his chest and the word, Yi, tattooed on his chest, and quickly walked towards Qin Chuan. The direction rushed over. And Qin Chuan recognized the other party's identity the first time he saw him. He is the senior agent of the Baroque Work Agency, Das Bonus code named, Mr. 1. In the Baroque Work Club, the smaller the number of the code name, the stronger the strength. And Das Bonus, code named, Mr. 1, is undoubtedly the strongest combat power besides Sha Crocodile. Master the cut. When Das Bonus charged forward, he instantly turned his fingers into blades and gripped them into tiger claws, trying to fight Qin Chuan in close combat. Fight me close to me. It's a good idea. Boiling escape skill of mist. Qin Chuan not only didn't feel any fear when he saw Dazzy Bonus rushing towards him, but became even more excited. Obviously, what he likes most is when someone rushes towards him without thinking. The next moment, some mist spewed out from Qin Chuan's mouth again, but these mists were not ordinary mist, they were boiling hot mist with freely adjustable acidity. This high heat mist can gradually evaporate objects, and its strength is stronger than melting, and the acid mist that changes its form can even melt all objects. When he saw Qin Chuan unleash this attack, Das Bonus was startled immediately. Then he had to stop at the same spot, and then softly snorted, "Kill people." The next moment, he instantly put himself in a posture and made himself as hard as steel. Das Bonus has the superhuman ability to cut devil fruits. Cutting the devil fruit can turn the whole body into a blade as hard as iron. The defense is very strong, and ordinary attacks can't hurt him at all. Even the slashing waves of Eagle Eye, Mahawk, one of the most powerful swordsmen in the world, can be blocked, and can cut everything that comes into contact with it. However, this time, it was Qin Chuan he met. And Qin Chuan's attack is meaningless no matter how hard his body is. So the next moment, when the mist fell on him, he wailed tragically in an instant. The mist eroded into his steel-like skin immediately. The high-intensity heat burned him completely speechless. After only 2 seconds, Das Bonus fell on the sand in an instant, and his whole body had turned red, as if he had just fallen into scalding hot water. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully defeating the enemy. You have received a total of 15,000 reputation rewards this time. When the system sound sounded, Qin Chuan knew that the other party would definitely not be able to get up within a short time. And Qin Chuan's attack completely shocked those around who were still imagining that they would be able to secretly attack Qin Chuan in the chaotic battle. Even Shaw Crocodile, who was in front of him, finally started to break out a trace of cold sweat on his forehead at this time. Spitting out so many things from his mouth. This guy is terrible, Douglas Barrett said with lingering fear when he saw this scene. Of course he knew how strong Das Bonus's defensive ability was just now. So even with the blessing of armed domineering, it is estimated that it will be difficult to resist Qin Chuan's attack. Your servant seems to be unable to hold on anymore. What should we do? He is the main force of your Baroque work club. At this time, Qin Chuan turned around again, looked at Shaw Crocodile who had already stood up and said slowly. And Shaw Crocodile just glanced coldly at Das Bonus who was lying on the ground not far away. Then he smiled lightly and said, since he has been defeated, he is just a waste in my eyes, so I don't care whether he lives or dies at all. But even though he said so, in his heart he already wanted to tear Qin Chuan into pieces. No, this guy is the chief conductor of the Baroque works, and he has always been loyal to you. Don't you trust him the most? In addition, I want to tell you that no matter how you pretend on the outside, your heart will not lie. Qin Chuan retorted on the spot. After hearing Qin Chuan's rhetorical question, Shaw Crocodile finally showed a frightened expression on his face. Obviously, he was really shocked this time. Before that, he would not be particularly shocked by what Qin Chuan said, even if he knew the true identity of Das Bonus and the conspiracy of the Baroque work agency he founded. It was possible. After all, there are so many people in the Baroque works, and it is normal for there to be one or two spies hidden in it. But Qin Chuan knew that Das Bonus was the person he trusted the most. You must know that he has never shown anyone an attitude of trusting others from the beginning to the end. Not only that, he has always been a very self-confident person, and he often blatantly declares to everyone that he never needs subordinates, as long as he is alone is enough. So when Qin Chuan saw through the depths of his heart, he began to panic completely. Who is this little-known guy in front of him, and why can he know everything about him? Qin Chuan, what exactly do you want to do? Now that things were up, Shaw Crocodile could only roar at Qin Chuan again and question him. And this questioning is very different from the questioning in the previous meeting. This time, his questioning looked quite imposing, but in fact it was so pale and weak. Come with me, or you will die here, you can choose your own way. Qin Chuan said slowly, standing on the spot with a calm expression. It seemed that at this time, Shaw Crocodile's life was completely in his hands. Up to now, no one would think that Qin Chuan's threat was a big talk. Obviously, the balance of victory has been tilted to Qin Chuan's side. Not to mention that Qin Chuan himself was no longer able to fight. Even if he could barely beat the opponent, he would no longer have the strength to fight against Douglas Barrett, who had never fought against him from the beginning to the end. You know I never like to be inferior, Shaw Crocodile said coldly. At this time, he is still trying to resist Qin Chuan. After all, he is the Chihuahua king, how can he easily succumb to others? Sanctuary Marie Joa's old folks have ruled the world for too long. And I will step over them and stand on top of the world in the future. You are a smart person, you should know how to choose, so I will give you a minute, you should think about it carefully. Quote. Qin Chuan said in a calm tone. If this passage is spread, it may cause quite a shock. A pirate who has just escaped from prison and is wanted all over the world threatens to destroy the world government, which will undoubtedly make his situation even more difficult. Hearing Qin Chuan's words, Shaw Crocodile was a little moved. Shaw Crocodile, I want you to take him in a boat. Because there is a power in this kid, this power will slowly bind us and make us stay by his side willingly. Quote. At this moment, Douglas Barrett, who was standing not far away, also walked up to Qin Chuan and said seriously. Hearing this, Shaw Crocodile finally spoke. Can you let me lose my heart? Otherwise, I'm not quite reconciled. At this time, he still hopes to have a head-on battle with Qin Chuan. HMPH, overestimate one's abilities, the technique of water escape and fog concealment. Seeing Shaw Crocodile's unwillingness to give up, Qin Chuan once again spit out a large amount of thick fog from his mouth. It's impossible for the same move to work on me a second time. Sha Lan. Sha Crocodile didn't talk nonsense, and quickly gathered a small desert storm from his hand again. Then the next moment it was thrown straight forward. The desert storm became more and more powerful during the high-speed rotation, and at the same time, the wind and sand gathered around it immediately blown away all the dense fog. At this moment, Qin Chuan also appeared. I saw him rushing straight towards Sha Crocodile so abruptly. I see what moves you have available. Desert Great Sword. Sha Crocodile finally released his strongest blow when facing Qin Chuan. The next moment, Sha Crocodile turned his arm into a sand blade and stabbed at Qin Chuan, who was rushing towards him. And Qin Chuan didn't seem to care at all, and still rushed towards Sha Ren. At this moment, Sha Crocodile's sand blade arm directly pierced Qin Chuan's body for the first time. This scene completely stupefied everyone. However, at this moment, Sha Crocodile suddenly frowned. Obviously, no matter how stupid Qin Chuan was, he wouldn't have shot himself directly at the muzzle of the gun. Isn't that suicide? Sure enough, the next moment, Qin Chuan's body suddenly turned into a cloud of water mist and disappeared. I'm here. At this time, a familiar voice came from behind Sha Crocodile. How can it be? Sha Crocodile was taken aback, and then turned around quickly. But when he turned around, a strong and water-stained arm stretched out towards his throat. Next moment, Qin Chuan's right hand instantly grabbed Sha Crocodile's neck. And because Qin Chuan's entire hand was dripping wet at this time, when his hand touched Sha Crocodile's neck, his neck was immediately stained with liquid. In this way, it is impossible for Sha Crocodile to elementalize his neck. My patience is limited. If you move around again, you might die. Qin Chuan scolded coldly. He himself didn't want to waste too much time on Sha Crocodile, and besides, his possessing effect was about to expire soon. And this time for him, he had already spent 300,000 reputation points, so he didn't want to waste one more use of possession. At this time, Sha Crocodile finally knew the gap between himself and Qin Chuan. Then he sighed and said slowly, I admit it. When he finished this sentence, a system voice finally rang. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully defeating the enemy. You have received a total of 50,000 reputation rewards this time. It really only has 50,000 reputation points, and now I lost 250,000 in an instant. I knew I shouldn't be pretending, and I just let Douglas Barrett go up and kill. At this moment, Qin Chuan's heart began to bleed. Originally, he thought that Sha Crocodile would have a reputation of 100,000 or 80,000 at least, but it turned out to be only 50,000. But after thinking about it, it seems that this is indeed the case. After all, Sha Crocodile is not very powerful now, and even though he has a natural devil fruit. But the weakness is also obvious. If others really want to target him, then he will be easily restrained by others. When Sha Crocodile announced that he had surrendered, a commotion erupted at the scene. Everyone in the entire casino stared at their boss dumbfounded. And as bonus, who was lying on the verge of death not far away, could only watch all this helplessly. Not only that, but here is the superpower Alabasta. So when Sha Crocodile was defeated, the news spread to all parts of the world immediately. What are you guys doing in a daze? Go and see the guy lying on the ground over there, but be careful, he might be a little hot. After finishing Sha Crocodile, he spoke to the people in the casino around him. And at this time, their bosses were defeated by the opponent, so they naturally didn't dare to resist. What do you want to do next? I was defeated by you. According to the rules set by the world government, I have been completely expelled at this moment. And you will be my successor, but all this depends on whether you and the world government are willing to sit down and talk. Quote. Sha Crocodile asked in a deep voice. Now that he had decided to follow Qin Chuan temporarily, he naturally wanted to know Qin Chuan's plan. Oh, Shichibukai under the king. I really look forward to going to the Holy Land of Marieoa. But now you call me the vice president of your Baroque work agency and Miss Wednesday. Quote. Qin Chuan narrowed his eyes and said. Hearing that the other party actually named these two people, Sha Crocodile couldn't help being a little confused. Don't others need it? HMPH, don't take any of your people with you. With their strength, following me to the new world is death, so let them live their own lives. Qin Chuan said disdainfully. After listening to Qin Chuan's words, Shaw Crocodile stopped talking nonsense, and immediately called two people and asked them to contact the two people Qin Chuan wanted according to the codes he gave. It was early the next morning. Sure enough, Qin Chuan's name once again appeared on the headlines of the World Economic News Daily. Marlon Vando, Marshal's office. Haha, I just said it, that guy will definitely not be idle. I didn't expect that he really defeated another king, Shichibukai, in just a few days. Now according to the rules, we have to talk to the world government about this guy. Quote. At this time, Garp, the naval hero, was looking at the headlines of today's newspaper with his legs crossed, and then said leisurely. HMPH, do you want to become the king's Shichibukai? His crimes are not small, just turning the city upside down is enough to condemn him to death. Will the guys from the world government easily make him the Shichibukai under the king? Zhongguo frowned. Those old things, they are only loyal to the Tianlong people, and the Tianlong people now have only one purpose, and that is to stabilize the situation in this world. So as long as it can help the stability of this world, they can do anything. Have you forgotten about the demon slaying order? Quote. Hearing the three words demon slaughter order, Garp finally put away his smile. Demon slaughter is a military operation. It is a brutal and inhuman attack that burns everything. The personnel involved in the demon slaying order are 5 lieutenant generals of the Navy headquarters, 10 rear generals of the Navy headquarters, 10,000 naval elites, and 10 top warships. Many years ago, the person who initiated O'Hara's demon slaying order was none other than the then Admiral Sengoku. But in fact, the chief culprit of O'Hara's demon slaying order is the world government. O'Hara is a famous archaeological site in the West Sea and the hometown of Nicole Robin. At the beginning, the world government considered the danger of continuing to interpret historical texts. In fact, they did not want the truth of 800 years ago to be exposed, and when Nicole Robin was 8 years old, they launched a demon-killing order to destroy O'Hara. Among the entire island of O'Hara, only Nicole Robin survived. So the Warring States period at that time, as an admiral of the Navy, had to bear the blame. It is precisely because of this that when the marshals are selected in the future, the Warring States will overwhelm all the heroes and rise directly from the position of general to admiral of the Navy. HMPH, don't mention the past anymore. Since we are part of the Navy, we can only do things with the righteousness in our hearts. Garp said seriously after putting away the newspaper. Your understanding of justice is different from mine, you know this very well. It doesn't matter, we are all old bones, maybe you were right or maybe you were right. Next, let's see what the old guys in the world government think. At that time, Nicole Robin, who survived O'Hara's demon-slaying order, was standing in the VIP box of the Rain Banquet Casino. Sitting on the sofa in front of her was Qin Chuan himself. There were only the two of them in the entire box, and even Douglas Barrett and Shaw Crocodile were not eligible to enter. I heard you were looking for me, what's the matter? At this time, Nicole Robin also knew the origin of Qin Chuan in front of her. She didn't have any feelings for Shaw Crocodile, but rather loathed him. So after Qin Chuan defeated Shaw Crocodile, instead of feeling sad, she was very happy. You are very lucky and unlucky. Unfortunately, your hometown was destroyed, but you escaped. Qin Chuan said lightly, holding a glass of champagne in his hand. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Nicole Robin's originally calm face instantly showed a surprised expression. At the same time, her heartbeat also accelerated at this moment. Don't be nervous, I'm not trying to kill you, on the contrary, I want you to help me investigate the so-called historical text. You also know the text of the history. Who are you? After hearing Qin Chuan mention such a sensitive thing, Nicole Robin couldn't sit still anymore. You don't need to know my identity, but I can tell you very clearly that I will not harm you. In addition, there is a historical text about the ancient weapon, Pluto, in the underground burial hall in Alabasta. You can go and see, but I want you to keep this secret forever, at least not to anyone until you tell me. Quote. Qin Chuan said calmly after taking a sip of red wine. Seeing that Qin Chuan actually mentioned the ancient weapon, Pluto, Nicole Robin's body couldn't help shaking. After all, she is the one who understands the text of history better than anyone else, and she is also the only remaining O'Hara in the world. Why are you so sure that I will find the ancient weapon, Pluto, and won't tell others? Nicole Robin hesitated for a moment before speaking. No reason, because you know very well that once these things fall into the hands of others, it will cause a devastating blow to the world. And you know better than anyone what that feeling of despair is like, so I'm sure you're not stupid enough to do something like this. Qin Chuan asked back. Since you already know what I think, how can you be sure that I will tell you the secret about the historical text? Nicole Robin asked. No reason, because I will be the one to change the world. The old guys from the world government can't do it, the high-level navy can't do it, and the pirates in the new world can't do it either. And when I am about to stand on top of the world, you will see everything about me and make the most correct choice at that time. Quote. Qin Chuan said confidently. After listening to Qin Chuan's nonsensical words, Nicole Robin fell into deep thought for an instant. This passage may seem nonsensical, but it actually has a deep meaning. The fact that the other party knew his background so well showed that his identity must not be too simple. It doesn't matter if you can't figure out a lot of things now, go back and think about it slowly, and don't try to kill yourself. If I didn't come, I am afraid that you will be killed by Shock Crocodile in a short time. So your first priority in the future is to save your own life, understand? Qin Chuan reminded again. This Nicole Robin was protected by Wang Lufei, who had the aura of the protagonist back then, so nothing happened. Now the pirate Wang Lufei is still playing in the mud in Windmill Town, and he defeated Shock Crocodile. Therefore, the plot line of the entire pirate has been completely disrupted, which has led to Qin Chuan not knowing what the future will be like for everyone in this world. And there is no doubt that Nicole Robin's identity and knowledge are too important to Qin Chuan, because he also has many things that he hasn't figured out. But right now he can't take the other party on board, because in the future for a long time, he will face the encirclement and suppression of all major forces. With such a weak person by his side, not only would he not be able to protect her in the end, but it might even cause her to be killed. So Qin Chuan finally decided not to let her board the boat. This is also a form of protection for her. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Nicole Robin nodded in a daze. Then Qin Chuan asked her to leave the box directly, and asked her to call Miss Wednesday in. After a while, a young woman with water blue long hair who had two big watery eyes and waist-length hair walked in cautiously. Are you looking for me? Nefertiti Wei Wei, don't be nervous, I'm here to help you. Qin Chuan still said very calmly. When Qin Chuan actually announced her name, Nefertiti Wei Wei yelled in fright, and then involuntarily took 2 steps back. Let's cut a long story short, you know what this country is like now, it's all because of that idiot outside the door. But now that he's on my boat, I'm going to protect him, so let's make a deal. How about I help your father quell the civil war in Alabasta in exchange for keeping this secret forever? Qin Chuan apportioned directly. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Nefertiti Wei Wei showed a hint of struggle on her face. After a while, she slowly opened her mouth and said, "What if I don't agree?" "If you don't agree, sorry, this country will disappear from the world map. Remember, I am not asking for your opinion, you only have 2 options, one is to accept my proposal, and then you are still the princess of Alabasta. And the other is to be a subjugated princess." Quote. Having said that, Qin Chuan suddenly turned cold and looked at Nefertiti Wei Wei sharply. After seeing Qin Chuan's attitude, Nefertiti Wei Wei's expression suddenly darkened. After a while, she raised her head and said with tears in her eyes, "I accept your proposal on behalf of the royal family of Alabasta." After hearing the other party's words, Qin Chuan finally felt relieved. In fact, he is really not the kind of person who likes to kill innocent people indiscriminately. And if he just left with Shock Crocodile, there is no doubt that without the support of the Baroque studio, it is impossible for the rebels to gain a firm foothold in this country. So, when that time comes, the Nefertiti royal family will take back the power. At that time, everything will be revealed. At that time, Shock Crocodile's reputation will also be completely discredited. In this way, as his crew member, Shock Crocodile must also bear certain infamy and responsibilities, which he did not want to see. That's why he pretended to threaten Nefertiti Wei Wei to compromise. Fortunately, this little girl is easy to fool, and according to the plot of Qin Chuan watching cartoons, this guy is quite trustworthy, so naturally he is not too worried that the other party will backtrack. After talking with the 2 of them, Qin Chuan then carried out a series of actions. Let Shah Crocodile dismantle his Baroque work agency first. In addition, without the interference of his forces, the kingdom of Alabasta finally began to rain heavily. When the torrential rain fell on this desert land, the people all over the country finally saw hope. At the same time, the rebels also immediately announced their surrender. After all, they have been fighting on the grounds that the royal family manipulated everything behind the scenes and caused the entire country to not rain for years. Now that the Baroque works has collapsed and the rain has fallen, they naturally have no reason to fight anymore. Soon, Neferutali Cobra, king of Alabasta, took power again. At the same time, Qin Chuan, Shah Crocodile and others also boarded the Red Fosse and left Alabasta completely. After drifting at sea for 2 days, Qin Chuan did not receive any information about Alabasta and Shah Crocodile from the newspapers. This also shows from the side that the royal family of Neferutari abided by the agreement with him, and at the same time, Qin Chuan finally let go of his heart. Captain Qin Chuan, where are we going next? Douglas Barrett and the others asked after standing on the deck looking at the kingdom of Alabasta that was getting farther and farther away. Go to Luoge town, I want to find a guy. After a moment of silence, Qin Chuan said these words. Rogue town. After hearing this place name, Douglas Barrett not only frowned slightly. After all, he is more familiar with Rogue Town than anyone else. For no other reason, Rogue Township is known as the town of the beginning and the end. His location is in the East China Sea, which is also near the entrance of the Great Shipping Route. At the same time, the previous generation of One Piece, Gall D. Roger, was born in Rogue Town and was executed here. So Rogue Town has extraordinary significance to him. Well, if you want to find someone there, going to Marie Joya just by the two of you doesn't seem to be enough. Qin Chuan turned his head to look at the two of them and hummed softly. Are you going to the Holy Land of Marieoa? It seems that you are really not afraid of death. You must know that your current bounties add up to more than 2 billion. Hearing that Qin Chuan still wanted to go to the Holy Land of Marieoa, Shah Crocodile said boldly. Haven't you been there? Why are you so scared? The last time I went, I was invited to attend the appointment ceremony, and what did you do there? And you know that I'm not going to be invited to the appointment ceremony. So maybe my affairs are already being discussed over there now. Having said that, Qin Chuan narrowed his eyes in the direction of the Holy Land Marie Joya. But at this time, in the Holy Land of Marijoa, as Qin Chuan predicted, the 5 old stars summoned Admiral Warring States as soon as Shah Crocodile was defeated. Warring States, the world is not peaceful recently. The last time he escaped from prison, the whole world is talking about our world government. Now, instead of finding that guy, he started to cause trouble everywhere, and even the King Shichibukai who was appointed by us was defeated by him. Are you taking some responsibility for this? Quote, at this time, among the 5 old stars, an old man wearing a dark green suit, balding, with a 2-shaped beard, and a birthmark on his forehead couldn't help but scolded. HMPH, you can't say that. The deep sea prison is not under the control of our navy. If you say that it is under the name of our navy, then our navy headquarters will naturally send powerful guys to sit in the deep sea prison. Warring States said coldly. There is actually some truth to what he said. Although the navy is an authority that maintains justice in the world, they are actually at the same level as Advanced City, and the two sides are only in a cooperative relationship in many things. The Navy headquarters has not sent anyone to the deep sea prison, so they are actually 2 different systems. And at this time, Wu Laoxing said these words. In fact, his purpose was just to hope that someone would take this responsibility. He has been in power for many years in the Warring States period, so he naturally knows what these 5 old guys are thinking, so he choked back. HMPH, the matter of advancing the city has nothing to do with you, but the matter of Nasha Crocodile has something to do with you, right? At this time, another old man in a white Taoist robe, with a bald head and glasses, who was also the only one among the 5 old stars who was not wearing a suit and had a beard, spoke displeased. Ly. This matter has nothing to do with me, and I didn't set up the Chihuahua system under the king, and these guys are all vicious pirates. So wouldn't it be better for us to let them kill each other? Warring States explained again. That's the case, but according to our information, that guy has become Qin Chuan's crew. In this way, Qin Chuan's strength will become even stronger. Doesn't this have nothing to do with your navy? Quote, "If there are pirates, we will arrest them. Besides, I have already dispatched the general of the headquarters, Sakazuki, to the East China Sea. It's just that the guy's ship is drifting, and he has no base, so it's not easy to find his hiding place for a while." Warring States Road. "I don't think so. The opponent is the guy who can snatch Shank's pirate ship, so it doesn't make sense for you to send Sakazuki, but if Sakazuki is also defeated. So where is the face of our world government?" Quote, "No need. Could it be that you want to?" After hearing the other party's words, Zhongguo's face instantly sank. Because he has thought of something. Sure enough, at the next moment, another Wu Laoxing spoke again. "We have already decided to let him replace the identity of King Sha Crocodile's Shichibukai and become a member of the new generation of King Shichibukai. In addition, in the name of the Navy, we will send invitations to several other Shichibukai to come here for a meeting. At this meeting, you have to ask them to assume certain responsibilities for protecting their surrounding waters in the future, and warn them that if anyone else is easily defeated by others, then they will be removed from the world government forever." Quote, "Your world government wants face, so why not our navy? Such a pirate just appeared, and the admiral of our navy hasn't fought against the other party yet, and you gave him a legal identity in the end. You do this, have you thought about our navy? How can I go back and explain to my subordinates?" Quote, after hearing these words, Zhongguo finally couldn't help but choke. He has always been quite opposed to the system of Chiwahai under the king. After all, the existence of this thing is to slap the face of their navy all the time. And as the admiral of the navy himself, of course he has to bear the responsibility for this, so he hates the system of Shichibukai under the king more than anyone else, and at the same time he always hopes to abolish this disgusting system. Moreover, according to some intelligence from their navy, these members who were appointed as the king's Chiwahai did not stop because they were recruited by the world government. On the contrary, they use their current legal status to search for people's fat and people's anointing in their own territory. This in itself violates the true meaning of justice, and at the same time, it also encourages the arrogance of the pirates in disguise. So now that the Warring States period was the first to object when they heard that Qin Chuan and his gang were going to be recruited into Wangxia Chiwahai. "What is your face? There is nothing more important than stabilizing the world. And you have to remember first that all the powers of your navy are given to you by our world government. Even your marshal position was obtained with our consent, so you are not qualified to bargain with us, you just need to do what we want." Quote, after hearing the opposition from the Warring States period, another 5-old star reprimanded him on the spot. "Since you all said that, what did you call me here for? Just make an announcement yourself." Although Zhongguo was not as irritable as Garp, he was also an admiral after all, and he was very upset after being reprimanded face to face, so he turned around and prepared to leave immediately. "We are warning you to tell your subordinates not to trouble that guy easily. If all the admirals are defeated by the pirates, then not only your navy will be ashamed, but our world government will also be ashamed along with you. And at that time, don't be a marshal of you." Quote, after listening to a passage, Sengoku stopped, but after a while, he still didn't say anything, and then he left the Holy Land of Marioa. Just as the world government was trying to contact Qin Chuan and negotiate with him to make him the king of Chiwahai, Qin Chuan's ship had quietly arrived in Rog Town. And Rog Town was originally the place where One Piece was executed, so naturally it was controlled by the navy for a long time. So when Qin Chuan's eye-catching pirate ship Red Foss arrived at the port, someone immediately reported to the defenders of Rog Town. At this time, it was Zosmog of the Navy branch who was sitting in Rog Town. Coincidentally, he is also a natural devil fruit, smoking fruit ability user. However, in Qin Chuan's impression, this guy's ability is quite poor. Apart from abusing the little pirate Luffy at the beginning, he doesn't have any successful record. Naturally, Qin Chuan didn't come here to find him. At this moment, Smoker, who was sitting on the office chair, frowned after hearing the report from the Navy soldier. Immediately report this matter to Admiral Sakazuki of the Navy headquarters, and ask him to come here quickly. In addition, call all the naval soldiers to gather in the square. Smoker said in a deep voice. Yes, the soldiers ran out immediately after saluting. When Qin Chuan and others set foot in Rog Town, they found that it was still very lively. There are various shops on the surrounding streets, and in front of the shops is a porch. The three of Qin Chuan walked along the porch towards the city. At the same time, in the square of Rog Town, a large number of naval soldiers have gathered here. The reason why Smoker gathered soldiers here also has a very important meaning, that is, this is the place where Roger, the Pirate King, was executed. So every time he was going to fight a fierce battle, he would come here, as if it would bring him good luck. And in his opinion, this is the place where the most vicious pirates in the world have been killed, so it is impossible for any pirate to come here to win. At this time, many people in Rog Town looked over curiously after seeing the Battle of the Navy. What they don't know is that there will be a big battle in Rog Town next. Soon, hundreds of naval soldiers gathered on the square. Immediately afterwards, an amphibious three-wheeled motorcycle propelled by smoke came over at a high speed from not far away. Just as the three-wheeled motorcycle was about to hit the crowd, Smoker immediately stopped the car. At the same time, the Navy soldiers in front of the three-wheeled motorcycle were already in a cold sweat. How can you be a coward and still be a Navy? After getting out of the car and seeing the expressions of the naval soldiers in front, he couldn't help but scolded. After being scolded by Smoker, these naval soldiers quickly lowered their heads. After all, his boss is not only very fierce to them, even to the top of the Navy. It is precisely because he often does not obey the orders of his superiors that it is difficult for him to get promoted. Even with the devil fruit of nature, he is still just a branch commander now. And people who have the same natural devil fruit ability as him have become admirals, so one can imagine how unruly he is. Just at this time, Qin Chuan and others also came to the square. After revisiting his hometown again, Douglas Barrett's heart is also quite heavy. After all, when Roger was beheaded back then, he also planned all of this on the spot, so now that he came back again, he was deeply touched. Everyone was stunned when they saw the naval soldiers gathering not far ahead. "Captain, can you tell us what we are going to do here now? As far as I know, there is no one stronger than me here." Shaw Crocodile was also dissatisfied. After all, Qin Chuan has always been insinuating that he is not strong enough, which makes him very unhappy. Now that he heard that Qin Chuan was going to recruit crew again, he said sarcastically, "HMPH, did you see that guy in the front with short silver hair, wearing a big coat with Justice written on the back, and a goggle around his neck? He is Zosmog of the Navy branch, and also a natural devil fruit ability user. Now that you have killed him in the past, I will recognize your ability." Qin Chuan pointed to Smoker, who was not far ahead, and shouted. At the same time, Nazmog also discovered them immediately. Seeing Qin Chuan pointing at him, he looked over with a serious expression. A person with a natural devil fruit ability is actually just a branch commander. Are natural devil fruits so worthless now? After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Douglas Barrett on the side became curious. After all, devil fruits are already very rare, and the natural devil fruit is the most precious among devil fruits, even he has never gotten it. If you see a mere branch commander who has a natural devil fruit, he is quite different now. As a branch commander also worthy of my shot, Shaw Crocodile said indifferently. There is actually a big gap in strength and military rank between the commander of the Navy headquarters and the commander of the Navy branch of the Four Seas region. If the chief of the branch returns to the Navy headquarters to serve, it corresponds to the level of the captain of the headquarters. Basically, there is a difference of several ranks between the two. Of course, if it is a branch of the Great Airway, it is different. The branch of the Great Airway is a branch directly under the Navy headquarters. The highest rank is Lieutenant General, and the military rank system is the same as the headquarters. Coincidentally, this Smoker really became a Lieutenant General of the G5 branch of the Navy later on. It's just that at present he is just an unknown chief of the Navy branch. It's no wonder Shaw Crocodile looked down on him. After all, he was already a world-renowned great pirate. Even the world government could only recruit him and give him the title of Chiwahai, the king. And if Qin Chuan hadn't been making trouble, he would still be able to live comfortably in the kingdom of Alabasta. Don't underestimate this guy. His strength can almost reach the level of a major general to a lieutenant general of the Navy headquarters. Qin Chuan reminded. TCH, the lieutenant general of the Navy headquarters is nothing. After Shaw Crocodile finished speaking, he shook the coat behind him, then lit a cigar and walked forward slowly. It just so happens that Smoker is also a big smoker, and even his devil fruit is related to smoke, so at this time he also took out a cigar and lit it. Although the ranks of the surrounding naval soldiers are very low, they have all heard of the title of Shichibukai the King, so they naturally know Shaw Crocodile, who is the Shichibukai the King. When they saw Shaw Crocodile appearing in the square, the Navy soldiers were all stunned on the spot. Afterwards, Shaw Crocodile went straight to the group of Navy soldiers. "Shaw Crocodile, are you that fellow's lackey now?" Smoker also walked up to the team and pointed to Chin Chuan behind him and asked, "HMPH, are you worthy of asking me questions?" "A small branch officer, you admirals of the Navy headquarters will talk to me politely when you come over, you understand." Shaw Crocodile knew that the other party was deliberately making him angry, so he choked back on the spot. "Really, your master seems to have asked you to deal with us, right? It's ridiculous to say that Chi Wuhai, the majestic king, has become a slave thug. From this point of view, you are not as good as me, the chief of the Navy branch. After all, in this world, no one can order me to do anything." Smoker sneered. "Don't talk nonsense, you should also know that I am also a devil fruit ability user of the natural department. Show off your domineering armed color. Let me see how capable a naval branch officer is." Quote. After Shaw Crocodile finished speaking, a red gas quickly wrapped around his body. And this is a form of domineering armed color, entanglement. There are different skills to use the armed color domineering, which can be divided into hardening, entanglement, external release, and internal destruction. Hardening is also the most common and basic way to use the armed color in the New World. It is to cover the body with the armed color domineering. This move can make the capable person's body harder than steel, and can also improve their own defense and attack power. At the same time, in addition to using it on your own body, it can also be used on objects. The entanglement is to entangle the gas-like armed weapon outside the body, and it can also be entangled on the weapon, giving the weapon a certain attack ability. External release is to gather armed colors on hands or weapons and release them, directly evolving into substantial attack or defense power. It can hit the enemy with a powerful impact, and can also form a protective wall, which can even defend against invisible attacks. Internal destruction is the ability to pass the armed color through the surface of the object and directly destroy the interior of the object. It can be used in conjunction with hardening, winding, and external release. Although it is said that there are high and low skills in the use of armed color domineering, it does not mean that the strength of the armed color is high or low, let alone the level of strength. So it is possible that both of them are in a hardened state at the same time, but someone has a high intensity of armed domineering and high strength. Then even if the opponent is at a hardened level, it cannot compete with it. And Shaw Crocodile directly released the red domineering color of the armed force when he met, which showed that he also came prepared. Smoker, as the owner of a natural devil fruit, is also very aware of the advantages and disadvantages of this kind of fruit ability user, so he didn't talk nonsense, and immediately put the large 10-shaped stone with the sea tower stone embedded in his hand. A light red armed color domineering is attached to the hand. His domineering color is lighter than that of Shaw Crocodile. And this is also considered by many people as a basis for the domineering strength of the armed color. That is to say, in everyone's eyes, when the armed color domineering is released, the darker the color is, it means that the strength of his armed color domineering and his own strength are stronger. So now seeing Smoker's armed domineering look, Shaw Crocodile smiled contemptuously, and then rushed straight towards him. "Stand where you are, and don't shoot without my order," Smoker yelled, and then rushed up with his own weapon. In fact, needless to say, the group of ordinary soldiers behind him were already trembling with fright, not to mention that they would take the initiative to help him. The next moment, the poisonous hook in Shaw Crocodile's hand collided with Smoker's 10-handed weapon instantly. The powerful armed domineering was completely released at this moment. Boom! The two of them took a few steps back immediately after they collided. And among them, Smoker retreated a little further. Chapter 41. And from this detail, it can be seen that in the first contest between the two, Shaw Crocodile had the obvious upper hand. HMPH, it really hurts you to be the commander of this branch with your strength. Shaw Crocodile also retracted the contempt just now. From the collision, he also felt that Smoker was not so easy to defeat casually. White Fist. At this time, Smoker also realized that he was a little behind the opponent in terms of arm domineering, so he immediately shouted. The next moment, his hands and legs instantly turned into smoke. After his limbs completely turned into smoke, he stretched out his limbs that had turned into smoke, and violently launched his fists and feet towards Sha Crocodile in front of him. All of a sudden, 4 smoky attacks shot towards Sha Crocodile. Sand wall. Seeing this, Sha Crocodile didn't panic in the slightest, and immediately stretched out his right palm and pressed it to the ground. The next moment, when these 4 smoky attacks were about to attack him, a small wall made of sand was instantly erected in front of Sha Crocodile. 4 smoky attacks hit the sand wall respectively. The sand wall collapsed in an instant, and at the same time, the 4 smoke attacks returned to Smoker's body. This time, the two were tied again. Now Chin Chuan, who was not far away, couldn't stand it any longer, and then shouted at Sha Crocodile in the arena. Hey, his natural devil fruit is smoky, your Shaolan can blow its smog away. Although Smoker himself is a natural devil fruit, his devil fruit also has a great weakness, that is, he is afraid of wind and fire. And Chin Chuan can also possess a ninja at will to defeat him. But now that he has a younger brother by his side, he naturally doesn't want to do it himself. After all, even if Smoker is defeated, his reputation will not be too much. After hearing Chin Chuan's words, the two people in the middle of the battlefield froze for a moment. Especially Smoker, he finally had a trace of worry on his face at this moment. Obviously, Chin Chuan saw through his weakness. On the other hand, Sha Crocodile stretched out his right hand immediately after hearing Chin Chuan's words. The next moment, a small desert storm condensed on his palm. I heard that you are afraid of the wind, then you can die next. Desert storm. Sha Crocodile snorted loudly, and then directly threw the desert storm that was spinning at high speed on his right hand. As the desert storm sprinted towards Smoker, the wind speed began to increase, and at the same time, its range expanded infinitely. Seeing this scene, Smoker knew that it was impossible for him to avoid this attack through elementalization. Because if he really wants to turn himself into a smoke form through elementalization, then the wind and sand will tear him apart in an instant. So Smoker turned sideways and hid aside. But when he hid, the Navy soldiers behind him were completely exposed to the desert storm. They didn't expect that their boss would run away as soon as they said they would, so everyone didn't think of running at the first time. But when Smoker flashed like this, everyone panicked. The next moment, the desert storm directly hit the Navy soldiers who were about to flee. Immediately afterwards, dozens of naval soldiers were blown away by the desert storm on the spot. Not only that, when the desert storm blasted towards the naval soldiers in front, the figure of Sha Crocodile appeared behind it. Originally, after throwing the desert storm, Sha Crocodile took advantage of this opportunity to hide behind and prepare to attack at any time. Seeing that Smoker's attention was on the Navy soldiers behind him, he seized this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, raised the poisonous hook and rushed over. After seeing this, Smoker hurriedly wrapped his cross weapon around the armed domineering again, and then head-on with the opponent again. But when the domineering weapons wrapped around the two collided again, Sha Crocodile raised a smile at the corner of his mouth. The next moment, he turned his own arm into a crescent-shaped sand blade and slashed directly at Smoker. At this time, his sand blade is not just a normal attack, but wrapped in a lot of armed domineering. This is also because his arm itself is entwined with armed domineering, and this sand blade is the gigantic form of his arm. So it automatically adds armed domineering color. At this time, Smoker was about to retreat, but his cross weapon was stuck tightly by Sha Crocodile's poisonous hook. In this way, he missed the perfect opportunity to escape in the first place. Seeing that he couldn't dodge, Smoker could only raise his left hand on the spot to try to block Sha Crocodile's attack. And the sand blade touched Smoker's body at the first time, but it didn't cause anything to come up. After seeing this scene, Smoker frowned slightly. He knew very well that this sand blade attack really hit him, but why he didn't respond. But the next moment, he felt something was wrong. In the few seconds after the sand blade attacked him, he felt that the energy in his body was evaporating extremely quickly. At the same time, the entire throat began to dry up. After realizing his strangeness, Smoker was taken aback immediately, and then he kicked Sha Crocodile's abdomen without any thought. And Shah Crocodile released the poisonous hook that was stuck on the opponent's weapon at the first time, then took 2 steps back and easily avoided Smoker's attack. Do you feel that your mouth is dry and uncomfortable? Shah Crocodile sneered after standing firm. What kind of move is this? Smoker only felt that the water in his body was rapidly evaporating, and this was not a good thing for him. Because his body needs to be aerosolized to attack, if there is no water in his body at this time, he will not be able to perform any elementalization at all. At this time, cold sweat finally began to break out on his forehead. Okay, I won't waste time with you. The game is over. Shah Crocodile smiled contemptuously, and then raised his poisonous hook again to kill him. At the same time, on the deck of a large warship a certain distance from Rog Town, Sakazuki clenched his fists full of flames. After receiving Smoker's report, he immediately felt that he had been tricked by a brat. I spent several days guarding the direction leading to the Great Route in vain. And even if they rushed there at full speed now, they would still have to spend a day. He is very clear about Smoker's strength. After all, it was because Smoker always liked to contradict him and disobey his orders. That's why he kept suppressing the opponent. And now Smoker is absolutely impossible to survive a day when facing the Chinchuan pirates alone, so right now he can only hope that Chinchuan and others will not leave Luo Luo so soon after killing Smoker. Grid Town. But at this moment, Lieutenant General Weasel hurried out. Admiral Sokolsky, the Navy headquarters has sent an urgent telegram. After Lieutenant General Weasel finished speaking, he handed over a telegram. After taking a look at the telegram, Sakazuki's face sank instantly. At this time, several lieutenant generals around were also very confused after seeing Sakazuki's expression. What's the matter? Did something happen at the headquarters? Lieutenant General Ghost Spider asked beside him. A telegram has been sent from the Navy headquarters, saying that the top level of the world government has issued an order to appoint Chinchuan and his pirate team members as the new King Shichibukai. Sakazuki said coldly. Here, we have already announced to the whole world that we will denounce the Chinchuan pirates, and now let us stop halfway. Isn't this a joke? In this way, where will our Navy face in the future? Quote. At this time, Lieutenant General Doberman couldn't help complaining. But having said that, Shah Crocodile lost the battle, and at this time there is a vacant position for Kibui Wangxia, if Chinchuan is really willing to become Chihuahai Wangxia and stop there. This is not a bad thing for us. The Ghost Spider analyzed. HMPH, since I've come out, it's impossible to give up halfway. In addition, I admit defeat before I have a formal fight with the opponent. They can afford to lose face, but I can't afford to lose. Sakazuki obviously did not agree with the Ghost Spider's point of view, but replied in a cold tone. General Sakazuki, what do you mean? Seeing that Sakazuki didn't quite agree with his point of view, Ghost Spider spoke cautiously. But Sakazuki did not answer his words immediately, but shook his right hand. The next moment, a red flame burned in his hand. Immediately afterwards, the urgent telegram in his hand was instantly reduced to ashes. General Sakazuki, this telegram cannot be burned, we have to use it to reply to the headquarters. Seeing that Sakazuki directly burned the telegram sent from the headquarters, this surprised the weasel on the side. Because the most important link between the various agencies of the Navy is the telegraph. When a telegram is sent from the headquarters or other branches, the recipient must sign his name on the transmitted telegram and send it back. The purpose of this is precisely to tell the other party that they have received the telegram. Moreover, the telegram transmitted from the headquarters has the autograph of Marshal Warring States and his exclusive palm print. Now that Sakazuki directly destroyed the telegram, they would have nothing to reply at all. There is no need to reply, just say that there is something wrong with our telegraph, and turn off the phone bug for me. As long as the Chinchuan pirates don't leave Rog Town before dawn tomorrow, all this will be over. Quote. Sakazuki looked fiercely in the direction of Rog Town and said, General Sakazuki, we are disobeying the orders of our superiors by doing this. Ghost Spider worried. Sakazuki is the admiral of the Navy, his status is second only to the Warring States, so if he really disobeyed the order, the Warring States would not do anything to him. But the few of them are different. There are dozens of vice admirals in the entire Navy, so if they also disobey, they will probably anger the high-level officials of the Warring States and the world government. In this way, their future will be seriously affected. If they are transferred to the branch in the New World Sea area to serve as the person in charge later, their future life will be much miserable. That's why the ghost spider is a little reluctant to follow Sakazuki's disobedience right now. You were brought out by me, and I will bear all the problems. In other words, if we succeed in finding Qin Chuan and others and defeating them, will the world government still want to hold us accountable? I'm afraid they will have to thank us then. Quote, Sakazuki dismissed it on the spot. Then why can't Qin Chuan and the others be found? After all, Smoker alone can't last a whole day. If they let them run away this time, that's okay. I will contact Zongguo on the phone to explain the matter when I arrive in Rog Town. At that time, just say that the telegram was accidentally lost to me. Could it be that the Marshal of the Warring States period wanted to punish me for a telegram? Quote, after hearing what Sakazuki said, everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, and then fell silent at the same time. Obviously, it is impossible for them to disobey Sokolsky's order at this time, because if they fight against him in the Navy headquarters, the end will be miserable. On the other hand, the Navy is in the Marshal's office in Marin Fando. At this time, Zongguo sat on the office chair and did not wait for Sakazuki's reply, which made him feel uneasy. After all, he knew Sakazuki better than anyone else. Sokolsky himself has an upright character, cruel means without any mercy, and never allows a trace of evil to exist. And in order to be able to complete the task, he can take his colleagues and ordinary people as targets and annihilate them without any care. What he pursues is thorough justice, and he is extremely disdainful of the Chiwahai system under the king. So right now, it is really possible that he chose to ignore this telegram in order to kill Qin Chuan. And those who followed him were some veteran vice admirals, and these guys were more tactful, so they would not offend Sakazuki no matter what. Thinking of this, Zongguo's face darkened instantly. It only takes one day from here to Rog Town. Why don't I go there myself? If I can get there before Sakazuki, then everything will be fine. At this time, the naval hero Garp on the side took the initiative to speak. Why don't you let me do this matter? Why bother you elderly people with such a trivial matter? After hearing Garp's words, Pelusalino, who was standing with his hands in his pockets, immediately added. HMPH, the elderly guy you're talking about still has a lot of fuel in his fuel tank, don't underestimate us. Hearing that Pelusalino disliked Garp in a disguised form for being old, Lieutenant General He, who was sitting with Garp at the same time, was dissatisfied. Although she and Garp are both vice admirals, they are heroic naval figures who fought with the Warring States period in Roger's glorious era. So even though she is only a vice admiral, her prestige and status are no less than those of the admirals who came from behind. Sure enough, after Crane mercilessly opened his mouth to refute Pelusalino, he quickly spread his hands and shrugged his shoulders and said, Lieutenant General Crane, that's not what I meant. I was worried that you would come here in vain. There's nothing to worry about. Sakazuki is not something ordinary people can suppress, so it's safer for Garp to go. At this time, before Garp could reply, Sengoku spoke first. And after he said these words, he also made a complete conclusion on this matter. Seeing that the Marshal had seen this like this, Pelusalino naturally didn't want to worry about such leisure, and Deng even put his hands in his trouser pockets and leaned against the wall again to quiet Shali. The main reason why Warring States chose to let Garp go to Luozh Town to find Qin Chuan instead of letting other generals of the same level as Sakazuki go was because he didn't trust these generals too much. Sakazuki himself is relatively strong. If another general goes to the scene, it is even more unlikely that Qin Chuan will be allowed to leave when two generals are present. And at that time, if there is any bloodshed due to the forced arrest of Qin Chuan, then this matter will really be stabbed to the top of the world government, and no one will be able to bear it by then. As the Admiral of the Navy, he must focus on the overall situation of the Navy. In recent years, in order to weaken the power of the Navy headquarters, the world government has deliberately supported the CP-9 secret intelligence agency that guards Judicial Island. This CP-9 secret intelligence agency is said to have a strong background. Their function is to work for the world government, and they will engage in various secret activities, such as assassinating the cadres of the Revolutionary Army and other tasks. Even as the Admiral of the Navy, he doesn't know much about the composition of the entire CP-9 secret intelligence agency. And right now, if Qin Chuan's matter provokes the high-level officials of the world government again, then the status of the Navy headquarters will plummet even more. So after hesitating for a while, he still decided that it would be safest to send Garp, who is relatively stable and able to completely suppress Sakazuki. I'll go with you. I also want to see what kind of background this young guy has, who can make the top powerhouses of our era bow their heads. At this time, Lieutenant General He also immediately expressed his opinion. She was also very interested in Qin Chuan, not only because Qin Chuan was able to successfully escape from the city, but also because he had received Douglas Barrett by his side. And Douglas Barrett was a big pirate who had fought against Crane countless times back then. It shouldn't be too late, you should go now, and remember not to cause any unnecessary conflicts. Now that the world government has made a decision, let's do our best to recruit Qin Chuan and others. Warring States finally reminded. Immediately afterwards, Garp left the office with Crane and began to walk towards a large warship in the port of Marin Vanduo. After about half an hour, a warship carrying 2 vice admirals slowly sailed out of Marin Vanduo port. And Rog Town, which is in the mouth of the storm, is undergoing earth-shaking changes. As the commander of the naval branch of Rog Town and the most powerful in the town, the colonel of the Smog naval branch was lying on the ground dying. At the same time, Qin Chuan and the others stood in front of him. You guys, what do you think? Smoker spat out a mouthful of blood, and then gnashed his teeth while supporting his already extremely weak body. He is not afraid of death right now, but the main reason for his anger at this time is because he lost to a few pirates, which made him feel very ashamed. But just as he finished speaking, Qin Chuan kicked him in the chest. You really talk a lot of nonsense, you don't have any strength at all, but you still like to chatter, and I have to tell you the truth. This is the weakest East China Sea in the world. You feel that you are doing well here not because you are strong, but because the guys here are too weak. So if you really want to see the world, then go to the New World for a break. When you get there, you will know what a real strong man is. Quote. And when Qin Chuan finished speaking, Smoker finally passed out because of his extreme weakness. Lord Smoker. Now the surrounding naval soldiers shouted in surprise when they saw their boss was defeated. But they were afraid of the strength of Qin Chuan and others and did not dare to approach, so they could only shout anxiously around. Is this guy not killed? At this moment, Shah Crocodile brought up his poisonous hook and asked. Why did such a small character kill him? Those guys who will pass it down to the New World think we just like to bully the weak. Qin Chuan replied lightly. In fact, if he had no other choice, he really didn't want Smoker to die. After all, Smoker is quite a decent guy, but he is always confused about his own strength, so he is often beaten to death. In addition, the naval forces in the East China Sea are already weak enough. If he still kills the admirals here, then this place will completely become a paradise for pirates. This is what Qin Chuan does not want to see. In addition, I may have to negotiate with the world government and the Navy headquarters now, and if I kill the other party's general at this juncture, it is impossible for the other party to give him a good face. So after thinking twice, he decided to let Smoker go. Hey, if this guy isn't killed, will all these youngsters be released? After hearing that Qin Chuan didn't intend to touch Nazmog, Shah Crocodile said with some disappointment. His reputation has been completely discredited now, and the majestic former King Shichibukai actually joined a little-known pirate group. At this time, I am afraid that the other kings and Chiwahai are laughing at themselves behind their backs. And he finally managed to become an admiral with a natural type devil fruit, even though the other party was only a naval branch officer. But mosquito meat is also meat. If he could kill the other party with his own hands, it would surely spread all over the world, and this would save his reputation a little bit. Don't touch them, I still have use for keeping them. Qin Chuan warned coldly, and then walked up to the group of naval soldiers. At this time, the Navy soldiers became very nervous when they saw Qin Chuan walking towards them. Many people have also been trembling nervously. Go and help me with something. If it's done, your Lord Smoker will have nothing to do. If it can't be done, then your entire navy in Roger Town will be buried here with Roger forever. Qin Chuan said to everyone word by word. As soon as his words fell, the scene suddenly fell into a deathly silence. No one will doubt the authenticity and feasibility of his words. Immediately afterwards, a middle-aged man who seemed to be the temporary leader of this group of Navy soldiers finally said bravely, "What do you want us to do? If it is something illegal and criminal, we would rather die than do it." Quote. Although he was very afraid of Qin Chuan and others, but he was wearing a Navy uniform after all, so it was absolutely impossible for them to let the pirates demolish them in order to survive. At this time, Shaw Crocodile at the side wanted to go up and teach him a lesson when he saw that someone was so stubborn but was stopped by Qin Chuan. "I won't embarrass you too much. After all, you can't do anything big with your strength. You can help me find a guy in Rog Town. Looking for someone." Who? After hearing that Qin Chuan was just looking for someone, the man's tone softened a bit. "His name is Bartolomeo. The guy has a grass-green coxcomb head, an eye pattern under his right eye, a nose ring, a ghostly face, a black winged half-ring tattoo on his chest, and a skull pattern on his back. A purple coat and checked trousers, with a dagger on his waist. Also, when he speaks with a dialect accent, he is used to adding "bay" at the end of his words, and his unique laughter is "hey ha ha ha, so if you see such a strange person, it must be him." Quote. After hearing that Qin Chuan was looking for a man named Bartolomeo, the two people beside him immediately looked at each other and then frowned involuntarily. Obviously, they don't know this guy. And since he didn't even know Shaw Crocodile, it meant that this guy probably wasn't someone with a lot of background. That being the case, Qin Chuan went to great lengths to find this guy, which made them confused. "Are we going to capture him and bring him here?" "Haha, it's impossible for you to catch him. To tell you the truth, even if your Lord Smoker goes out in person, it may be difficult to hurt him. So you just need to send me a message. I will be in this tavern next door all day today, if he doesn't come to see me in person before 12 o'clock tonight. Then he and his little brothers will not even want to see the sun tomorrow." Qin Chuan suddenly narrowed his eyes and said slowly. His tone was extremely calm, but his eyes contained a lot of counter-information. After listening to Qin Chuan's words, the middle-aged man swallowed, then immediately turned around and shouted to all the naval soldiers, "From now on, everyone, please search the entire Rog Town for me. Find that guy." "Yes." The naval soldiers around who hadn't escaped shouted in unison, and then dispersed. But the admiral ran to Smoker's side the next moment and helped him up. Qin Chuan didn't say much when he saw this. Deng even took the lead and walked into the tavern on the side. At this time, the owner of the tavern witnessed all this. When he saw Qin Chuan walking towards him, he was so frightened that he sat down on the ground. "What are you panicking about? Hurry up and prepare some good wine and meat for us." Qin Chuan glared at the tavern owner and said calmly. After hearing Qin Chuan's order, the tavern owner didn't dare to be careless, so he quickly turned around and went back to the tavern to gather food and drinks. After entering the tavern and starting to drink, Shaw Crocodile finally couldn't help but speak. "Captain Qin Chuan, what kind of guy is that Bartolomeo you're talking about? As for asking us to mobilize so many people to find him. After all, the three of them made such a big commotion when they came to Rog Town. Even a fool would know that the matter must have reached the ears of the world government and the Navy immediately. And right now in the East China Sea, Sakaski's fleet is searching for their whereabouts. If the other party happens to be in the nearby waters, then they are likely to meet the general directly next. A little pirate, but his devil fruit is quite interesting, and even though this guy's strength is mediocre, if he can really subdue him, his loyalty will at least be much higher than yours. So for him, I think it is worth it," Qin Chuan said quietly. Hearing Qin Chuan publicly say that he was not loyal enough, Shaw Crocodile just snorted softly. It is impossible to say that he is willing to be a crew member of Qin Chuan. At least for now he is still not willing to do odd jobs under others, especially what Smoker said today actually stimulated him to a certain extent. So now he really has some heart that wants to betray. It's just that right now he also knows that there is an obvious gap in strength between himself and Qin Chuan, so he can only endure it temporarily before making plans. What kind of devil fruit ability does that guy have? After hearing such a high evaluation from Qin Chuan, Douglas Barrett beside him couldn't help but wonder. He is a barrier fruit ability user, and also belongs to the superhuman line of devil fruit. Don't underestimate the ability of this devil fruit. It is a barrier that can use absolute defense. The barrier will not be destroyed by any means, and you can use the barrier to attack. In other words, no matter how powerful a person is, it is difficult to break through his barrier. And the effect of this devil fruit will be very significant in team battles, so if there is him, we will have an advantage in going to full-scale wars with the guys from the New World or the Navy in the future. Qin Chuan explained. Cut, a barrier fruit that no one can break. Hearing this, Sha Crocodile taunted after spitting out the smoke ring in his mouth. Anyway, he has seen a lot of people in the world, so far he has not found any defense that cannot be broken, so he does not agree with Qin Chuan's words. When the time comes, you can try it and you'll know. Qin Chuan didn't argue with him, but just picked up the whiskey in his hand and drank it. In the evening, just after Qin Chuan and the others finished their dinner in the tavern, the door of the tavern was kicked open with a bang. The next person who walked in was the man Qin Chuan described to everyone earlier today, Bartolomeo. And behind him followed several men with fierce spirits. At this time, Bartolomeo's dress was exactly the same as Qin Chuan said, as if Qin Chuan had seen him before. It also surprised both Sandy Crocodile and Douglas Barrett. After all, they followed Qin Chuan all day long, and how did Qin Chuan know that the other party was dressed like this today? Bartolomeo, you came later than I thought, Qin Chuan said calmly, shaking the whiskey in his hand. HMPH, I heard from those grandchildren that a guy came to me and said something that would prevent me from seeing the sun tomorrow. I'm afraid of everything, but I'm not afraid of death, so I wanted to come over and see who is so daring. Quote. Bartolomeo said contemptuously. At the same time, the people behind him also drew their weapons. Isn't it? Did you bring your gangsters here to collect your corpse? Qin Chuan couldn't help asking curiously after glancing at the people behind him. It seems that you still know what my real identity is. After hearing what Qin Chuan said, Bartolomeo immediately frowned slightly. I was born in Rog Town, and currently rule the entire underworld in Rog Town. I am also a superhuman devil fruit and barrier fruit ability user. Am I right? Now that you know the power of my devil fruit, do you still dare to come and die? I will give you another chance to reorganize and speak, because in front of you is a man who has just successfully escaped from the world's strictest prison, and defeated the powerful pirate group in the New World, and at the same time subdued a King Shichibukai and one of the great pirates of Roger's time. I came here this time to want you to join my team, but if you are still so arrogant and domineering, I don't mind if you really can't get out of this door forever. Quote. Qin Chuan's originally laughing face suddenly became serious, and at the same time his expression became a lot more serious. After seeing Qin Chuan's words, Bartolomeo trembled immediately. Indeed, as soon as he saw each other, he recognized that these three people were the pirates who had recently made a fuss all over the world. So even if he has the devil fruit of absolute defense, he may not be able to defeat them. But his character is arrogant and unrestrained, so after hearing Qin Chuan's threat, of course it is impossible to just bow his head. I'm going out now, if you have the guts, try to touch me. Bartolomeo actually turned around and was about to leave the tavern after speaking. But at this time, before Qin Chuan could speak, Sha Crocodile beside him couldn't bear it anymore. The fact that he came here to find such an unknown guy already made him very angry. Now that the other party doesn't seem to take the three of them seriously, this immediately makes him want to kill. Seeing Qin Chuan now, he seemed to want to touch him too, so he simply took the initiative to test how powerful this guy's devil fruit ability is. In an instant, Sha Crocodile brought up his poisonous hook and rushed to Bartolomeo's side like the wind. At this time, he only wanted to kill the other party as soon as possible. Be careful with his devil fruit moves. At this time, seeing Sha Crocodile acting without authorization, Qin Chuan immediately shouted from behind. After all, he knows the power of all the opponent's moves. But even though he had already reminded Sha Crocodile, it was still too late. Because Bartolomeo was already prepared to deal with it immediately. I saw him turn around immediately, and at the same time make a classic Commons fingers gesture with both hands. Immediately afterwards, Bartolomeo snorted softly. Shielding ball. The next moment, just as Sha Crocodile's poisonous hook was about to pierce his face, it suddenly hit a transparent object. Boom. After the sound of the ground, Sha Crocodile retreated directly. But just as he took 2 steps back, he bumped into a hard object behind his back. When he regained his composure, he found himself trapped in a glass spherical barrier. Needless to say, this barrier is naturally this guy's devil fruit ability. I want to see how strong your barrier is. After Shah Crocodile finished speaking, the entire poisonous hook was instantly covered with a layer of red domineering armed color. Immediately after he charged up, he slashed directly at the barrier. Boom, sounded again. I saw that when his poisonous hook slammed into the barrier, it couldn't hurt it at all. How is it possible? Shah Crocodile's expression darkened immediately upon seeing this. Armed and domineering can't be defeated. Is this thing really unsolvable? If that's the case, isn't he invincible? Douglas Barrett couldn't help asking at this time. HMPH, it's not that amazing. Although this thing has no solution, but have you seen it? The guy's hands are still maintaining that gesture. This is because he has to activate his devil fruit ability at any time to support this barrier. In other words, if you rush up to beat him now, then his barrier will disappear. And even if you don't beat him, after a while, he won't be able to hold on and cancels the barrier by himself. Quote. Chin Chuan explained loudly from the side. His words were not only addressed to Douglas Barrett, but also to Bartolomeo in the distance. Sure enough, after hearing Chin Chuan's words, Bartolomeo's face changed, and then he put his hands down instantly. The next moment, the barrier that wrapped Shah Crocodile disappeared. Seeing that the barrier disappeared, Shah Crocodile thought about going up again to regain the spot. Hey, Shah Crocodile, that's enough, come back, he may not be able to beat you, but if you really fight, it's hard for you to hurt him. Chin Chuan spoke again, but this time, his tone was a lot more serious, as if he was ordering Shah Crocodile. After hearing Chin Chuan's words, Shah Crocodile returned to Chin Chuan's side honestly, although he was unwilling. It's just that at this time, he was displeased, and his eyes were fixed on Bartolomeo in front of him. It seems that you know me so well, I even suspect that you have been lurking by my side in the past. When I came to you today, I not only beat up the Navy Chief Zosmog, but if nothing else happens, the Navy's warships are probably already in the waters outside Rog Town. For you, I'm now against the entire Navy, so you should feel honored, you know. Quote. Haha, that idiot smoker, do you really think I can't do anything to him? I just want to use him. After all, it will be much easier for me to do things if such a waste stays in Rog Town. And if he is going to be defeated, then maybe the Navy headquarters will send someone else over at that time, wouldn't I be asking for trouble? Quote. Bartolomeo didn't take it seriously. Indeed, his strength is already capable of killing Smoker, but the reason why he has not acted is that he still does not want to attract the attention of the Navy at this time. Even his underworld is developing in secret, and has not been fully brought to the surface. After all, Rog Town has a deep meaning to the Navy. So if something big happens here, the Navy will definitely not sit idly by. Your shielding fruit is quite useful, to put it bluntly, but its shortcomings are also fatal, and you should know this even if I don't say it. So if you really want to fight me, you have no chance of winning, understand? Quote. Chin Chuan spoke again. Stop talking nonsense. Before you defeat me, you can't make me willingly follow you. Bartolomeo rejected Chin Chuan straight away. Then I'll see how you kneel down and beg for mercy later. After Chin Chuan finished speaking, he immediately activated the system through his thoughts. Ding! The host successfully used the Uchiha Itachi character card, and the number of possession uses -1. After seeing Chin Chuan's words, Bartolomeo immediately became vigilant. And the next moment, Chin Chuan started to do it directly in the small tavern. The art of dragon fire. Chin Chuan snorted softly, then opened his mouth, and then spit out a huge fire dragon and rushed towards Bartolomeo in front. In this small space, the fire dragon almost exploded the entire room. And where it passed, all objects were instantly scorched. Seeing the fire dragon rushing towards him, Bartolomeo didn't panic at all, and Dang even stretched out his hands again to make the common's fingers gesture. The next moment, a transparent square protective barrier was instantly spread in front of him. Boom! The flame dragon crashed into this transparent square protective barrier immediately. But just as Chin Chuan expected, the flame dragon couldn't do any harm to him. And at this time, inside the transparent square protective barrier, Bartolomeo couldn't help but raise a smile at the corner of his mouth. Since you know my barrier fruit ability, you still want to use this trick to defeat me. Don't you think it's ridiculous? HMPH, it was just an appetizer, now it's the real thing. The technique of bird clone. The next moment, Qin Chuan's body suddenly turned into dozens of black crows. And the reason why he used the dragon fire jutsu just now was actually just to test to see if the ninjutsu of the Naruto world can defeat the devil fruit of the pirate world. But in fact it can't, so Qin Chuan still has to use the weakness of the barrier fruit to make a fuss. Seeing that Qin Chuan suddenly turned into a flock of crows, Bartolomeo was taken aback. Immediately afterwards, the group of crows flew towards him after circumventing his absolute barrier from all directions. In this way, his absolute defense will be completely ineffective. Seeing this scene, Bartolomeo had no choice but to remove the barrier quickly. But as soon as he lifted it, the group of crows gathered behind him again. You are finished. Monster power attack. Qin Chuan snorted coldly, and then punched Bartolomeo directly on the back. Bang! After a loud bang, Bartolomeo flew directly onto the bar in front of him. In an instant, the entire bar counter was smashed to pieces. The strange power attack is actually a physical attack created by Senjujuma, and it just so happens that Uchiha Itachi also comprehended it. It actually precisely controls chakra, concentrates chakra on one part of the body, and then bursts out to cause powerful physical damage. And Uchiha Itachi in Qin Chuan's body just now concentrated all the chakra he brought into his fist and then punched out with power. However, Qin Chuan still released some water at the last moment. Otherwise, at such a short distance, even a steel-like body would be severely injured directly. His own purpose is to recruit this Bartolomeo, so if he is seriously injured at this time, it will be of no benefit to anyone. After Bartolomeo was defeated, the gangsters around were also taken aback. After looking at each other for a while, they turned around and ran away. HMPH, your younger brothers have all abandoned you, it seems that you, the boss, have failed. And I didn't say you, is it interesting to mix in this place with bigger bullets? If you don't mind, I will take you to the big stage in the new world, and then with your special devil fruit ability, I believe you will shine. Quote. At this moment, Qin Chuan persuaded again. This Bartolomeo is not the same as Sha Crocodile. Although both of them are rebellious, Sha Crocodile is shrewd and cunning, and he knows how to endure. But this Bartolomeo is a stunned young man, so if you provoke him, he will really fight you desperately. So Qin Chuan's strategy is to completely defeat his confidence from the front, and then take the opportunity to give him a hand. Sure enough, after getting up and patting the dust off his body, Bartolomeo finally showed a hint of struggle on his face. He was the same as Sha Crocodile, both of them were pretentious people, and now they really wanted to be inferior to others, so naturally they were not particularly happy. Boy, letting you in is flattering you. How can the fame and strength of the two of us not surpass you by a few blocks? Seeing that this guy was still hesitating, Sha Crocodile couldn't help but blame him. But Bartolomeo glanced at Sha Crocodile and only replied lightly. If the captain hadn't shot today, I'm afraid you would still be trapped in my barrier ball, crying and begging for mercy. Are you courting death? Seeing that Bartolomeo dared to contradict himself, Sha Crocodile was ready to do it again. Okay, stop arguing, everyone will be on their own from now on, go to bed early tonight, and have to face some tricky guys tomorrow. Qin Chuan immediately gestured. In fact, when Bartolomeo said the word captain just now, he knew that the other party had completely surrendered. It's just that for a while he was too embarrassed to speak directly, so he expressed his thoughts tactfully. At the same time, when Bartolomeo announced his surrender just now, a prompt sound popped up in his system. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully defeating the enemy. You have received a total of 30,000 reputation rewards this time. Sure enough, this guy's prestige value is not too high, but it's better than nothing. Now that Bartolomeo has agreed to join his pirate group, there is no need to start again. After all, the sea outside will never be too calm at this time. According to Qin Chuan's estimate, the guys from the Navy will arrive here by tomorrow morning at the latest. Since the Navy is looking for us, why don't we retreat overnight? I have several unremarkable ships here, just enough for us to leave. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Bartolomeo immediately suggested. If you want to run, run yourself, I don't mind killing 2 more admirals. Sand Crocodile took the opportunity to sneer. There's no need to run away. I'm planning to go to Marlin Fandor to see how strong those old guys are. Qin Chuan said calmly. What, are you really going to Marin Fando? Now with the strength of the 4 of us, I'm afraid there will be no return. Do you want to wait? Douglas Barrett couldn't help but say at this time. After all, he had just escaped from the prison in Advance City. If he really went to Marlin Vander this trip, then under the joint attack of the Navy, it would be difficult for them to escape unscathed. It's not that I want to go, they are begging us to go on their knees, understand? Your tone is more arrogant than mine, but I like it. Qin Chuan's domineering declaration completely moved Bartolomeo. He himself is a person who worships the strong, so when Qin Chuan proposed to go to Marin Fando, instead of feeling afraid, he felt a little excited. Seeing that Bartolomeo is so unafraid of death, as the former king of Shichibukai who often goes in and out of Marlin Vander, it is even more impossible for Shaw Crocodile to shrink back at this time. Seeing that everyone didn't seem to take Marin Vando seriously, Douglas Barrett could only pray that the naval hero would not show up by then. Early the next morning, the 4 of them walked out to the streets of Rog Town after having breakfast. And when the 4 of them walked to the location of yesterday's square, everyone already noticed that something seemed wrong here. Did you find anything unusual? At this moment, Douglas Barrett spoke first. It's too quiet. This square is the busiest place in Rog Town. Even if you made such a fuss yesterday, it's absolutely impossible that there aren't even a single person passing by on the entire street. Looking at the empty street, Bartolomeo couldn't help but wonder. Obviously, something must have happened in Rog Town. Coming, Qin Chuan glanced at the end of the street not far ahead and suddenly said with a sullen face. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, the other 3 people around him immediately made preparations for battle. Even Bartolomeo on the side stood in front of everyone. It seems to be ready to open the barrier to protect everyone at any time. The next moment, a large group of people in white coats appeared not far ahead. From afar, these white coats are naturally Navy uniforms. HMPH, that's interesting, that guy is here too. When the other party gradually approached, Shaw Crocodile raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Among them, apart from Qin Chuan, he is the one who knows the internal staffing of the Navy best. Douglas Barrett has been imprisoned for more than 20 years, and he is not very familiar with the outside world. Bartolomeo is only rooted in such a small place to develop his underworld career, so naturally he is not very familiar with it. Familiar with some things of the Navy headquarters. Seeing what Shaw Crocodile said now, the 2 of them also became curious. Who's here? Bartolomeo asked casually. Admiral Sakaski, known as Red Dog. Before Shaw Crocodile could speak, Qin Chuan on the side took a step forward and said coldly. After hearing what Qin Chuan said, Bartolomeo couldn't help but gasped. Although he has never eaten pork, he has seen pigs running, so although he has never fought against the Admiral, he has never doubted the Admiral's strength. The General of the Navy headquarters represents the highest combat power of the entire Navy, and it can be said that he is an invincible existence in the Navy headquarters. Now that he was about to fight against the Admiral, he was still a little nervous, and he made a commons fingers gesture with both hands, ready to launch a defensive move at any time. The next moment, the naval troops led by Sakaski walked slowly in front of them and stopped. Behind him stood 3 vice admirals. In this way, a 4v4 situation is formed on both sides. At this time, Sakaski, who was smoking a cigar, looked around Qin Chuan and then set his eyes on Shaw Crocodile behind him. Shaw Crocodile, you are such a waste. I gave you the status of Shichibukai in the first place to think highly of you, but now you are someone else's dog. Sakaski immediately began to mock after puffing out the smoke ring. After hearing this sentence, Shaw Crocodile almost vomited blood. This was already the second time he heard such a mockery of himself in just 24 hours. But right now, the other party is an admiral, and he is not at the same level as Nazmog at all, so he can only respond to the other party with his mouth. It's none of your business who I cooperate with. Since the world government has removed me, I have nothing to do with you now. Haha, it's extremely ridiculous. Do you want to fight against the world government and our navy by joining forces with a guy who is also a waste? Today I'm going to wipe out all of you mobs in Rogue Town. Sakazuki scolded coldly. Hey, little red dog, didn't the world government ask you to send me a message? Just when the two were bickering, Chin Chuan suddenly said something surprising. After hearing his words, the people behind him were startled. At the same time, the four people on the opposite side, including Sakazuki, were taken aback for a moment but soon returned to their usual demeanor. But although they recovered their expressions within a short period of time, Chin Chuan still caught this information keenly. In fact, after he defeated Shaw Crocodile, he felt that the world government should consider recruiting him. After all, not only did he control the Chihuahai under the original king, but he also drifted on the sea with a great devil in the world. So if Chin Chuan can really become the Chihuahai under the king, it will be too cost-effective for their world government. One position directly traps three big pirates. This is simply a situation where one stone kills three birds. The world government has indeed sent an official letter. At this time, Sakazuki spoke again. As soon as he opened his mouth, the faces of the three people behind him changed instantly, and then they all looked at him in unison. After all, everyone agreed to hide this matter at the beginning. Oh, what did you say? The world government requires our navy to severely punish the two criminals who escaped from the deep-sea prison, and at the same time completely wipe out the embarrassing former King Chihuahai. Sakarsky said word by word. Haha, it's not a trivial matter to fake an order from the world government. Are you three vice admirals really not afraid that your superiors will blame you? Hearing what Sakazuki said, Chin Chuan would never believe it. Because he knows the guys from the world government too well. First of all, they launched the Chihuahai system under the king. The purpose is very simple, that is, to make the whole world less chaotic. But in fact the chaos in the world is also their own making. In other words, they hope that the world will not be peaceful, so they are willing to give some famous pirates a legal identity. Because although the world is now under the control of Tianlong people have been challenging the bottom line of people all over the world for so many years. Therefore, in order to divert attention, the high-level officials will naturally target the pirates around the world. And if there are no pirates in this world, how meaningful is the navy, judicial island and the deep-sea prison? In addition, at that time, what the common people think about is how to live a stable life. At that time, you Tianlong people dare to treat the world as slaves casually. Maybe if you make everyone anxious, everyone will really join hands to resist the Tianlong people's regime. So for the Tianlong people and the world government, pirates must exist. And if Chin Chuan becomes the Chihuahai under the king, it will be in their best interest. General Sakazuki, they may have received the news in advance, why don't we stop? At this time, it seemed that Chin Chuan had known something in advance, and the ghost spider behind Sakazuki couldn't help but speak. He himself is relatively timid, and at the same time, he has always been on the opposite side of Sokolsky in this matter, so at this time, he directly opposed Sokolsky on the spot, regardless of the presence of other people on the scene. What did you say? Hearing that his subordinates opposed him in front of Chin Chuan and others, Sakazuki's face darkened instantly, and then he turned around and clenched his fists to look at the ghost spider. The ghost spider was also taken aback when it saw Sakazuki looking at him angrily, and immediately began to sweat coldly on his forehead. Although the difference between the two is only one rank, there is a world of difference in strength. After seeing what the ghost spider said, Chin Chuan's thoughts were further strengthened. As far as I know, the Navy headquarters is about to add a general position, and the three of you have been in the position of lieutenant general for many years. If the world government is angered because of today's incident, then the general will definitely have no chance with you. Quote. At this time, Chin Chuan threw out such an explosive news again. As soon as this news came out, it immediately caused commotion within the Navy. Everyone began to whisper about Chin Chuan's words. Idiot, I have never heard of the fact that the Navy is going to add a general, so don't disturb the morale of the army here. Today I was ordered to arrest you. If anyone dares to resist, he will be killed. In addition, if anyone in the Navy dares to disobey orders, then don't blame me for being rude. Quote. Sakazuki also felt that something was not quite right. Originally, he wanted to provoke Shaw Crocodile to cause internal strife. As a result, Shaw Crocodile not only did not quarrel with them, but on the contrary, his side began to show signs of mutiny first. So he had no choice but to make a strong statement at this time. Seeing that Sakazuki spoke so deadly, although the 3 lieutenant generals behind him were unwilling in every way, they did not dare to openly disobey the general's order. Seeing that the 3 of them stopped talking, Sakazuki turned his face again. Who is that green hair? Why did you also sneak in? Hurry up and go aside, lest you will be wiped out later. Immediately afterwards, Sakazuki looked at Bartolomeo, who was beside Chin Chuan. None of your business. Seeing that Sakazuki underestimated him so much, Bartolomeo also got angry. Stop talking nonsense. Since we can't reach an agreement, let's do it. Seeing that things seemed to be irreversible, Douglas Barrett's body had already begun to be filled with a large amount of red gas. And this is also his unique devil form. At the same time, Chin Chuan instantly possessed Matekai again. Ding! The host successfully used the Matekai character card, and the number of possession uses -1. When facing Shanks last time, he used Tsukuyomi, and as a result, his whole body was completely sluggish for several days, and his eyes were also greatly damaged. Therefore, if he has not redeemed the character with the Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan, he does not intend to forcibly use Yuyu again. In case this thing blinds the eyes by then, it will be bad. Thinking of this, Chin Chuan still decided to summon Matekai first. Okay, you can go to die, kill me. Ghost dog. The next moment, Sakarsky also launched a general attack. And when he finished speaking, his arm stretched out quickly, and instantly melted the entire arm into lava. Immediately afterwards, the arm that had all been turned into lava shot towards Chin Chuan and the others at top speed. Looking at the thick smoke from the billowing lava, Chin Chuan and others not only frowned slightly. But at this moment, Bartolomeo, who had been on the verge of moving, also moved. I saw him quickly posing the iconic Common's fingers gesture. Immediately afterwards, when the billowing lava was approaching, a transparent square protective barrier was suddenly rolled out in front of him. Boom! Sakazuki's lava attack instantly hit the protective barrier. The next moment, a shocking explosion resounded over the entire Rog town. At this time, even Smoker, who was lying on the hospital bed, was awakened by a voice. Are the reinforcements coming? Smoker opened his eyes and asked weakly after seeing the Navy soldiers beside him. Yes, Lord Smoker, General Sakazuki is leading everyone to a fierce battle with the Chinchuan pirates. That's good, with them here, I think we should be able to win. After hearing this, Smoker sighed, then slowly closed his eyes again and rested. On the other hand, on the square, Sokolsky's attack seemed to be powerful. Even the shock wave after the explosion collapsed the houses on both sides in an instant. But even so, the protective barrier created by Bartolomeo still has no cracks. Haha, Admiral, that's all. Bartolomeo couldn't help showing a smile after seeing that his protective barrier successfully blocked the Admiral's full blow. And this also made Shaw Crocodile and Douglas Barrett around him stunned. Just now they clearly felt the power of Sokolsky's attack, but in the end they still couldn't break his absolute defense. Seeing this scene, they began to feel that Chin Chuan's trip was worthwhile. But Chin Chuan watched all this calmly. After all, his protective barrier can completely defend even the King's Fist of King of War, Elisabello II. Elisabello II is the king of the Kingdom of Protons. With his innate tyrannical body, he can instantly penetrate the enemy's fortress with a single blow. It is said that even if the strength is as strong as the 4 emperors, they will be killed on the spot if they are hit, so they are called natural weapons of destruction. Therefore, this attack by Sakazuki cannot be compared with the King's Fist at all, and naturally it is impossible to break this barrier. But as Chin Chuan said, the effect of this thing is just the same. He can only defend a small area in the front, and the other 3 sides are completely unable to defend. And if Bartolomeo lets go, then this protective barrier will disappear completely, so the disadvantages are still quite big. Do it, Bartolomeo. You find an opportunity to lock Sakazuki with a barrier ball, and the other 3 of us quickly get rid of the 3 vice admirals. Chin Chuan immediately gave orders to the 3 people around him. The next moment, Chin Chuan's body paused slightly, and with the help of the reaction force between the soles of his feet and the ground, he charged forward with a stride. Seeing Chin Chuan, he also made a move, and the 3 behind him also rushed up, and Bartolomeo also put away his protective barrier. Seeing the opponent rushing forward, the three vice admirals also took out their weapons and rushed forward. For a while, the two sides launched a big melee in the center of the square. The houses around the entire square were destroyed by these powerful people in an instant. The technique of instant body. Qin Chuan flashed suddenly when he was about to rush in front of Sokolsky, and then he flashed directly behind Sokolsky like a ghost. 8-gate Dunjia, Shengmin, Lilianghua. Qin Chuan then shouted loudly, and immediately after that, a large amount of green energy burst out from his body and completely surrounded him. But just when Qin Chuan's foot was about to kick Sokolsky, Sokolsky was also completely elementalized immediately. So when Qin Chuan kicked the past, he could only kick into the air. The speed and explosive power of the third door of the 8-door Dunjia can't surprise him at all. After seeing this scene, Qin Chuan's face sank instantly, because he found that even the explosive Baman Dunjia could hardly escape Sokolsky's eyes. Immediately afterwards, Sokolsky, who appeared again beside Qin Chuan, snorted coldly, and then turned his arm into lava again. The next moment, his lava-formed arm suddenly turned into the shape of a dog's head and extended his lava-formed limbs to rush towards Qin Chuan. 8 doors Dunjia, 5 doors, do doors open. At this time, Qin Chuan could only hastily open his 8-door Dunjia to the 5th door. And after opening the 5th door, Qin Chuan's speed at this time is already enough to drive the air to tilt the ground when moving. If the 6th door is opened further down, then Qin Chuan's body will suffer great load damage. So after he opened the 5th door, he immediately retreated at a high speed. But even though Qin Chuan had reached the extreme speed, the lava arm in the shape of a dog's head still lightly touched his chest. In an instant, Qin Chuan's clothes were burned to ashes, and his entire chest became pitch black. At this time, Qin Chuan, who retreated at a high speed, broke out in a cold sweat after gaining a firm foothold. If he had been slower just now, his entire body would have been shot through. The strength of this general is really terrifying. But just when Sokolsky was dealing with Qin Chuan with all his strength, Bartolomeo, who was fighting with the ghost spider, seized the opportunity to dodge and first dodged the ghost spider's sword attack. Immediately afterwards, he ran directly to Sokolsky's side and made a classic gesture again. The next moment, a transparent barrier ball completely surrounded Sokolsky in an instant. Hey, protect me quickly, don't let anyone hit me. After seeing Sokolsky successfully trapped, Bartolomeo didn't feel happy, but hurriedly shouted at Shaw Crocodile beside him. Because now, in order to maintain the effect of this barrier ball, he cannot change and perform a series of defenses. So if someone attacks him at this time, then he is dead. The ghost spider has 8 hands and feet, and each of these hands and feet has a long sword. After seeing Bartolomeo trapped Sokolsky, he was also surprised, and then quickly waved 8 long swords and rushed towards Bartolomeo. But at this moment, a purple lightning-like gas shock wave exploded from his side. This sudden attack also had to make him temporarily stop and raised his long sword to resist this attack. Clang, clang, clang. This attack made a crisp collision sound after hitting several long swords of the ghost spider. Immediately afterwards, the ghost spider spit out a mouthful of blood, and then retreated a few steps before barely gaining a foothold. Obviously, although he is already a lieutenant general, he is still not as good as a pirate at the level of Shichibukai under the king. Chapter 51. Otherwise, the world government would not easily choose Shaw Crocodile to become the Shichibukai under the king. At this time, Sokolsky, who was trapped in the transparent barrier ball, was extremely angry. The next moment, he directly slammed his completely molten fist on the transparent barrier ball. Boom! A loud noise came from the transparent barrier ball. But even with a full blow, the transparent barrier ball has no cracks at all. At the same time, Bartolomeo, who was outside, also raised a weird smile. Hateful. Admiral is nothing more than that. Sokolsky inside the transparent barrier ball was very angry, but the 3 vice admirals outside were not as simple as anger. At this time, Qin Chuan, Douglas Barrett, and Shaw Crocodile, who had freed up their hands, quickly matched up with them. Although Weasel, Ghost Spider and others are first-class strong players. But when facing Qin Chuan and others, he seemed so overwhelmed but not strong enough. Bang! With a bang, Douglas Barrett punched Lieutenant General Ghost Spider directly into a big house next to him. At the same time, even the mighty Lieutenant General Weasel was repelled by Qin Chuan's Bamindunjia in 5th gear. In the end, only Lieutenant General Daubman, the most powerful, was left struggling to support the entire frontal battlefield. But just as the Navy was about to be defeated, a figure sprinted over from a distance at high speed. At this time, everyone turned their eyes to the past. After seeing the person sprinting over, everyone present except Qin Chuan was completely shocked. Especially Douglas Barrett. At this moment he finally showed a trace of fear on his face. It is the naval hero, Carp, who is rushing at high speed. I saw Carp wearing a Navy Justice cloak and rushing towards the crowd desperately. Get out of the way! Garp yelled at Qin Chuan and the others when he sprinted over. At this time, after hearing Carp's words, everyone quickly moved to the sides with great interest. Now, only Bartolomeo, who stood in place and controlled Sakazuki, was left in the center of the battlefield. Hey, don't leave me! At this time, Bartolomeo saw that everyone dispersed, and after he was completely exposed in front of Garp, he couldn't help but shouted. After all, at this juncture, he didn't dare to cancel the transparent barrier ball easily, because at this time, Sakazuki's eyes were already spitting fire. The original tactical plan was for him to hold back Sakazuki, and then others would come to help him after the other navies were dealt with. The next moment, Garp had already rushed to him, then raised his right hand and slammed towards the transparent barrier ball. Boom! The huge fist just hit the transparent barrier ball. All of a sudden, there was a terrible loud noise in the whole sky. Immediately afterwards, a click came from the transparent barrier ball. The next moment, the originally extremely strong transparent barrier ball cracked rapidly. This scene also completely stupefied everyone present. Even Qin Chuan couldn't help frowning. Because before that, he always believed that Bartolomeo's absolute defense could not be broken. But now Garp punched the crack. Although the transparent barrier ball is still not completely broken, Sakazuki has not been released yet. But obviously, this thing can't do much in front of Garp. Immediately afterwards, Lieutenant General he led a large number of naval soldiers to the battlefield one after another. As a result, the battlefield situation has changed a lot again. The Qinchuan pirates, who had already had the chance to win, suddenly turned from a huge advantage to a disadvantage. And Shaw Crocodile and Douglas Barrett also hurried to Qin Chuan's side. Even Shaw Crocodile, who has always been extremely arrogant, stopped talking randomly at this time. Bartolomeo, let Sakazuki go. At this time, Qin Chuan suddenly said in a cold voice. Hearing Qin Chuan's order, Bartolomeo swallowed his saliva, and immediately put away his gestures. Then, the transparent barrier ball that had cracks around Sakazuki also disappeared. After the transparent barrier ball disappeared, Bartolomeo also retreated to Qin Chuan immediately. Garp first looked around, and then turned his gaze to Sakazuki, who was already furious and ready to do it again at any time. Sakazuki, are you going to betray? Just when everyone thought Garp was going to give an attack order, he suddenly said this sentence. As soon as he said this, the expressions of the three other vice admirals present changed instantly. Obviously, how could their little trick be able to fool the two old guys in the Navy headquarters? Lieutenant General Garp, I don't know what you're talking about. Sakazuki is a general after all. Even at this time, he still replied very calmly. Marshal Warring States issued an order yesterday asking you to stop looking for and arrest the Qinchuan pirates, but you guys turned a blind eye to the order of the Navy headquarters. How do you explain it? I don't have any bullshit orders, I just know that the Navy is going to enforce absolute justice. If you like to bow your head to some powerful pirates all day long, then what are we naval forces doing? Simply hand over the Navy headquarters to those guys in the New World to manage it. Quote. Sakazuki fired back forcefully. Although Garp is well known and powerful, he is still a general, and his rank and status are one level higher than Garp's. So even in the face of Garp's questioning, Sakazuki is completely worthwhile. Sakazuki, now the Navy headquarters has decided to suspend your position as admiral, and ask you to stop everything at hand, and then immediately return to the Navy headquarters to give a detailed report to Marshal Sengoku. This is a suspension order, take it and see for yourself. Quote. This is, the crane on one side directly threw a piece of white paper in his hand to Sakazuki. This time, after grabbing the white paper, Sakazuki didn't burn it again, but held it directly in his hand, and at the same time gave Chin Chuan and others a cold look. You guys just wait for me, one day I will make you pay the price. After uttering these harsh words, Sakazuki left the square straight away. At the same time, the other 3 vice admirals present also gathered together. The 3 of you should go back with Sakazuki and have a good review. He also understood that the 3 of them had reasons for doing this, but after all they disobeyed orders, so he could only tell them to go back first. Okay, thanks a lot. Weasel and the others respected the 2 veterans of the Navy, so after thanking them, they also left the scene. After everyone left, Carp slowly walked up to Chin Chuan and the others. At this time, the possession effect of Chin Chuan's Matekai character has also disappeared, so if Garp wants to sneak attack him, he may have to beat him to death on the spot with one punch. However, it was clear that Garp had no intention of fighting with Chin Chuan and others. So he didn't waste another time of character possession. The 3 people beside him were on high alert at this time, especially Bartolomeo once again resorted to his classic gestures, ready to defend at any time. The world government has recently issued a letter of appointment regarding you and your crew. From now on, you will be a member of the King's Chiwahai. Congratulations. Cap said flatly. After listening to Carp's words, all the people present except Chin Chuan stared at Carp with wide eyes in surprise. Apparently, they had always thought that Chin Chuan was going to the Holy Land of Mary Joa just as a joke. But now it is completely different. If Chin Chuan really accepted this appointment, then he would really be able to enter the Holy Land of Mariao illegally. Those old guys from the world government are so daring to conclude that I will accept your appointment. After all, the position of Wangxia Shichibukai is not attractive to me at all. Just when everyone thought that Chin Chuan would accept the appointment without hesitation, Chin Chuan suddenly said something surprising. Why, are you unwilling to accept this appointment? Hearing that Chin Chuan actually wanted to reject the post of Chi Wuhai, Garp also began to frown. He and the others behind him also looked over vigilantly. The atmosphere at the scene, which had already eased up, suddenly became tense again. Are they old-fashioned or are you stupid? A mere King Chi Wuhai also let me be it. I blew up the entire city of advancement, and at the same time robbed the warship of the red-haired pirates, and you ended up treating me like this. Quote. Chin Chuan scolded unceremoniously. His words are indeed not unreasonable. Although Wangxia Chiwahai is not low in status, and his strength is not bad. But after all, I am the one who became Shanks. If I really want to become the king of Shichibukai, wouldn't I be laughed at by those guys in the New World? After all, if the world government wants to appoint those 4 emperor-level guys as the king of the Chiwahai, they may punch you directly on the spot. It is obvious that the world government just wants to dismiss itself casually at this time, so it is not to blame Chin Chuan for getting angry. HMPH, what do you want? Garp has already clenched his fists at this time. You must give me a higher level appointment, and at the same time, the rest of the Chiwahai under the king must be under my control, and I don't need to be responsible to anyone. Chin Chuan slowly opened his mouth and put forward his thoughts. As soon as these words came out, Carp was stunned for a second, and then he burst out laughing. Boy, you are too crazy, let alone other things, it is not up to us to let the other kings Shichibukai become your subordinates. In other words, this is also impossible, so may I think you are playing us. Quote. Garp directly and unceremoniously rejected Chin Chuan's request. You are just a vice admiral. It's not up to you to decide on this matter. The higher-ups sent you here not to negotiate with me, but to spread the word and test my bottom line. Are you still going to come here? Don't you know? After Chin Chuan's choking, Garp's face instantly sank. Meanwhile, Douglas Barrett's fist at the side also began to be quietly covered with a layer of red-black gas. At this juncture, the war seems to be on the verge of breaking out. But at this moment, Carp snorted softly, and then said again, you don't just have to play tricks if you want a higher position. If you want to obtain personal benefits from the world government and the Navy headquarters, then you must pay something accordingly. Quote. It's very simple, I'll help you get rid of these big pirates in the Chiwahai King, this will be beneficial and harmless to your navy. Besides, along the way, I have solved many problems for you, and you should know it even if I don't say it. Quote. Qin Chuan's attitude is also very clear, that is, this way, I have helped you kill a lot of pirates, and at the same time, I have also taken down Shaw Crocodile and Douglas Barrett, which has already indirectly helped the world government do the Navy a big favor. Not only that, he also promised to completely defeat the other kings Chiwahai and receive his own banner. But there is also a great hidden danger, that is, Qin Chuan's strength may be terrifying to another level. At that time, even the Navy may not be able to contend with it head-on. As you said just now, I'm just a vice admiral. I can't decide this matter now. So go send a message now, I'll give you half a day. After Qin Chuan finished speaking, he turned around and entered the nearby tavern without looking back. And Douglas Barrett and others behind him looked at each other in blank dismay and quickly followed in. After everyone went in, Carp turned around and looked at Lieutenant General He. What should I do? Do you want to report this matter to your superiors? Crane couldn't make up his mind at this time, and then he took the initiative to ask Garp. Let's tell Zhongguo, if we really plan to do something, then we can only fight them head-on. Cap sighed and shook his head. He hadn't expected things to turn out this way. If he had known that Qin Chuan was not so easy to tame, he should have resisted orders with Sakazuki and others. With him, Sakazuki and a group of lieutenant generals, no matter how powerful Qin Chuan is, he can't escape. But now that I have driven Sakazuki and others away, it is no longer realistic to call them back at this time. So if the superiors really disagree with Qin Chuan's request, then he can only follow he to face those 4 guys. And at this time, Garp was quite shocked when he thought that he just cracked the transparent barrier ball after charging up his attack just now. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he really didn't want to have a large-scale conflict with Qin Chuan and others here. Crane quickly reported the matter, and the warring states who got the news did not dare to delay, and immediately contacted the highest decision-making body of the world government, the 5 Old Stars. On the other hand, in the tavern, everyone is in a pretty good mood at this time. Because just now they teamed up to defeat the army led by the admiral, and at the same time forced the hero Garp not to dare to act rashly. And Bartolomeo, who had some complaints and dissatisfaction with Qin Chuan, has already started to help Qin Chuan soften his shoulders at this time. Qin Chuan himself actually expected this result, but what made him a little upset was that he didn't get any reputation points in this battle just now. The main reason for this is that neither side caused substantial casualties. Seeing that he only had more than 100,000 reputation points left, Qin Chuan also decided to do it himself if he could do it himself in the future. He always let other people do it, but he didn't get any money. The warring states finally reached a conclusion after half an hour of secret talks with the 5 Old Stars. After receiving the latest instructions from the high level, Garp walked into the tavern with Crane. At this time, Qin Chuan and others in the tavern were drinking rum, and when they saw Carp coming in, they put down their glasses one after another. Then, Carp slowly walked in front of Qin Chuan and the others. The higher-ups replied, they think your request is a bit too much, but it is not completely without room for negotiation. Oh, so you agree to our request? At this time, Bartolomeo couldn't help but interjected. HMPH, it's not that easy, the people from the world government said, unless you can get rid of the other Chiwahai kings, there is absolutely no possibility of sitting down and negotiating with them. You are a smart person, you should understand what it means, right? Quote. After listening to Garp's words, Qin Chuan just smiled lightly. He naturally knew what the 5 Old Stars meant. Obviously, if you want to obtain unprecedented privileges, you must show your real skills. Although he has subdued Shaw Crocodile, there are still 6 other Shichibukai branches all over the world at this time. So only after Qin Chuan showed his absolute strength, the world government would agree to negotiate with him. HMPH, how easy is it to get rid of all the other Chiwahai kings in a short time? If we really wait until then, the day Lily will be cold. Hearing the other party's proposal, Shaw Crocodile immediately showed dissatisfaction. Aren't you defeated in a few days? At this moment, Crane taunted Shaw Crocodile mercilessly on the spot. After hearing his words, Shaw Crocodile really didn't know how to refute for a while. Indeed, he was defeated by Qin Chuan in just one day. But at this moment, Qin Chuan spoke again. You want to fight with me, with your devil fruit ability for washing clothes, I guarantee you will be beaten to the ground within 3 rounds, do you believe me? Seeing Shaw Crocodile being ridiculed by the other party, Qin Chuan had to stand up and defend his crew at this time. After all, he is the absolute leader of this team. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, he immediately froze for a moment, then looked at Qin Chuan with a serious expression. She knew very well that Qin Chuan's strength must be higher than hers, because she was not sure to solve the monsters in the deep-sea prison by herself. So after being choked up by Qin Chuan now, she also ended up in the same embarrassing situation as Nasha Crocodile. Hearing that Qin Chuan did it for him, Shaw Crocodile's heart suddenly warmed up, and at the same time he began to admire Qin Chuan. Stop talking nonsense, you get rid of the 3 Shichibukai, and then we will take you to the Holy Land of Marioa. At that time, how well you can play with the world government depends on your ability. Quote. Seeing that everyone was arguing again, Carp said directly. In fact, the content of this paragraph was also negotiated between the world government and the warring states, but he didn't think about saying it all at once just now. Because from his point of view, he hopes that Qin Chuan can defeat the other 6 kings Chihuahai at once. It's just that Qin Chuan and the others are not fools. Faced with such a harsh request, it is naturally impossible for them to agree. HMPH, if I hadn't told you earlier, everything would be gone. I even made your partner laugh at me. Qin Chuan sneered, then drank the rum in his hand in one gulp. Then he swaggered straight away from Garp and Crane. And Shaw Crocodile and others also glared at Garp and others and followed closely. You can make a move just now. After Qin Chuan and his party walked out, he suddenly asked in a deep voice. Her tone was not asking, but questioning. In fact, I also had the idea of doing something. After all, no one in this world dares to be so arrogant in front of me. But I held back in the end, because he was Qin Chuan, a guy the first never knew. And most importantly, we still don't know what secret is hidden in him. So if I act rashly, if I can't deal with him, it will be considered a complete turn against him. Quote. Garp muttered softly after looking at Qin Chuan and others who were leaving. After walking out of the tavern, Qin Chuan suddenly took a deep breath. It was too depressing in the tavern just now. Although he has a system, it still takes a lot of courage to confront the super powerful Garp at such a close distance. Fortunately, Garp is quite honest, and he never intended to do anything from the beginning to the end, otherwise he really wouldn't have left here so easily. Captain Qin Chuan, you were too domineering just now, to reprimand him face to face like this, and he didn't dare to do anything to you. After coming out, Bartolomeo spoke excitedly. At the same time, even Douglas Barrett and Shaw Crocodile looked at Qin Chuan with admiration. After all, the two of them have already achieved fame before, so they have also dealt with Carp and others. But even people of their status would never dare to show off in front of Carp easily. Otherwise, if the opponent directly punches them like this while taking advantage of their unpreparedness, the consequences will be unimaginable. Captain, if you really took action just now, are you sure? At this time, Douglas Barrett asked. He had fought against Garp before, and also cooperated with him, so he actually knew Garp's strength better. But right now, he doesn't quite know where the upper limit of Qin Chuan's strength is. After all, during the fight today, he was almost injured by Nasakasuki. It's hard to say, but in fact, he is not the scariest person in the Navy headquarters. Huh, are you talking about the Warring States period? Shaw Crocodile also chimed in on the topic. No, it's Sakazuki who played against us today. What, Sakazuki? That guy can't even destroy my transparent barrier ball, how can he be compared with that old man in the tavern? HMPH, you still underestimate him. If he really explodes, his strength will be quite terrifying. In addition, although you temporarily trapped him, if I guessed correctly, you need to keep sending energy in your body to maintain that protective barrier, right? So even if the other party doesn't move you, you can't lock him in for the rest of your life, right? What can you do when your protective barrier is automatically lifted? Qin Chuan snorted lightly. It is true that Bartolomeo's protective barrier is relatively buggy, but it is also very easy to crack. Anyone who knows his ability will definitely choose to sit down and rest for the first time, and then wait for this thing to be automatically disarmed. Therefore, when Bartolomeo faces this kind of superpower, the protective barrier ball can only delay the opponent's footsteps. Besides, Nasakasuke is the only person in the pirate world who has defeated another general head-on, even the mighty Roger and Lox in ancient times, and the current 4 emperors. Without exception, none of them broke the leg of a naval award head-on, so one can imagine what Sakasuke would look like if he used his full strength. It seems that the current naval strength is not worse than before, so what should we do next? Should we take the initiative to find other kings Kibui? Douglas Barrett asked. Well, Lao Sha, you should be able to contact Morgans over there, right? At this moment, Qin Chuan suddenly turned his head to look at Sha Crocodile and asked. What do you think? I do know that guy, but he is a giant in the dark world, and has nothing to do with Shichibukai. I know he's okay, I just want you to release the news that I'm going to challenge King Shichibukai and the world government is negotiating with me. What? You want to take the initiative to reveal this matter? In this way, it will not do us any good. At that time, the Chihuahai kings will know that we want to find them, so why don't they hide or join forces to deal with us? Quote. Haha, it would be the best if they want to unite, so that I won't have to go find them one by one. Hearing this, Qin Chuan said indifferently. Okay, but if we do this, will it anger the world government? Sha Crocodile asked worriedly. I'm afraid, they are begging to give us a position. Besides, since they dare to set up this so-called 7 martial arts under the king, what face do they have? The reason why Qin Chuan is so stubborn is that he knows that the world government doesn't care about such things at all. And one of the most important points is that the negotiating request of the world government is to let Qin Chuan destroy other kings Chiwuhai, which is a good thing for people all over the world. So even if the news is leaked out, at most it will provoke complaints from the members of the group of Shichibukai. But they can only complain with their mouths. After all, if you really don't want to stay, the world government will immediately point their guns at you. Okay, I'll contact Morgans, but who are we going to touch first? How many kings are still under Chiwuhai? At this time, Douglas Barrett was finally able to intervene. After all, he had been imprisoned in the city for too long, and he didn't even know the so-called Chiwuhai under the king, let alone what pirates are here now. There are 6 other people who are as awesome as me. This first one is called, the strongest swordsman in the world, by many people, named Joracle Mahawk. Although that guy lives alone in the castle on Krajgana Island, no one has ever dared to set foot on his territory. He is a relatively powerful and mysterious man, and it may be difficult to deal with. The second is Bartholomew Shang, the former king of the Sorbet Kingdom. Nicknamed Tyrant. He used to be a domineering and ferocious pirate, but at this time he has been completely transformed by the scientist Vegapunk of the Navy headquarters and lost his self-awareness. So now he is already a member of the Navy. The third one is the captain of the Sun Pirates and the guardian of the Murloc Island, Jinbei. However, this guy is said to have taken refuge in Whitebeard, Edward Newgate recently, so if he is moved, it may attract the attention of Whitebeard. The fourth is the captain of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship pirate group, Moonlight Mariah. This guy likes to summon thousands of corpses to fight, and he is also a disgusting person. The fifth is the only woman in the Kibui under the king, Boa Hancock. She is the emperor of the daughter island Amazon Lily Kingdom and the captain of the 9 snake pirates. People call her the Pirate Queen. But this daughter's island lies in the windless belt beside the Great Sea Route. In this windless belt itself, it is difficult for ships to pass through, and there are huge Neptunes haunting it, so ordinary ships cannot enter the waters near Daughter Island, let alone board the island to arrest people. The last one, and the most famous one, is Don Quixote da Flamingo. This guy is King Dressrosa, and he has always been in the limelight, so if you want to destroy him, you have to go to the New World and fight the entire Dressrosa country. Quote. At this time, Sha Crocodile, a member of the former Shichibukai under the king, began to introduce these people in detail to everyone. According to what you said, first of all, Bartholomew Shang must not be selected. After all, he is now a good man. If we want to beat people again, it will be too disrespectful to the Navy and the world government. Among the few remaining people, we have to choose 3 people, but whoever we choose can only be decided by the captain himself. Quote. Douglas Barrett also took up the conversation. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone present all looked at Qin Chuan in unison. It doesn't matter, let's pick the one that is closer and start first. Besides, we are all old men on this boat, and it's boring, don't you think? At this time, Chin Chuan suddenly narrowed his eyes and smiled. That night, Garp and Crane stayed in the naval branch base in Rogue Town, and at the same time gave their condolences to Smoker. Although Smoker failed to defeat the Chinchuan pirates, he can't be blamed for it. After all, even the Justice Fleet led by Admiral Sakaski couldn't defeat it, let alone the head of a small branch. So obviously, as soon as Smoker recovers, he will probably be promoted. And the next morning, a newspaper was quickly delivered to their hands. But after Garp glanced at the content of the headline, he was so angry that he directly threw the newspaper to the ground. What's wrong? Crane was sipping coffee at the side, but he couldn't help asking after seeing his old friend so angry. We were tricked, they leaked the news, Garp said with cold eyes. When Crane heard about it, he immediately grabbed the newspaper and read it. I saw the news that the Chinchuan pirates fought against the admiral and the lieutenant generals in Rogue Town on the newspaper. It also revealed that the world government and the navy decided to hold a secret meeting with him in order to win over the Chinchuan pirates. But the prerequisite for the secret talks between the two parties was that Chin Chuan should destroy the other 6 members of Chihuahai under the king who exist in the world now. As soon as this news spread, it immediately caused a big wave of hype all over the world. The 5 old stars of the Holy Land of Marijoya questioned Admiral Sengoku through the phone bug at the first time. But warring states couldn't vent their anger on Garp, so now, he can only bear all this by himself. On the warship returning to Marin Vanduo, instead of feeling angry after seeing this news, Sakaski felt very happy. These idiots still stop me from destroying them, now it's over, you just wait to be spurned and ridiculed by the world. And if the reaction within the world government and the navy is normal, the other Chihuahai kings scattered around the world have been completely blown up. The captain of the Sun Pirates, Jinbei, simply contacted Admiral Sengoku directly through the phone bug, and asked what was going on. On a ship shrouded in mist and surrounded by an extremely terrifying environment, Moonlight Maria, one of the 7 martial seas under the king, the captain of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship Pirates, was looking at the newspaper and sneered, "A mere brat, how could you? The tone is so arrogant, it is courting death. If you dare to come to Shihai, I guarantee that you will never return." Quote. On a large chair, a man with short black hair, eagle-like sharp yellow eyes, a short beard, and a black top hat with white fluff on his head calmly put it down after glancing at the newspaper. Aside. Immediately afterwards, he picked up the coffee beside him and drank it slowly. The only person who can remain calm when encountering such a thing is Jorikor Mahak, known as the strongest swordsman in the world. In addition, in a large palace, countless women are gathering in front of a tall woman with long black hair, dark blue eyes, and a pair of snake-shaped golden earrings. Queen, the world government and the navy are really abominable, they actually want to wipe us out through other people's hands. HMPH, you still want to come to Daughter's Island to catch me? Pass on my order to strengthen patrols in the waters near Daughter's Island in the near future, and report any suspicious ships approaching immediately. Quote. Boa Hancock, known as the Pirate Empress, said coldly. In a city with beautiful scenery and green trees in the city, a man with blonde hair, sunglasses, pink feather coat, cropped pants, and pointed shoes is sitting on a throne made of steel. He looked at the newspaper with a smirk on his face. Interesting, I didn't expect this guy to be able to make the world government compromise. He seems to be a smart guy. Mr. Doflamingo, what should we do now? Do we want to talk to the world government? At this time, a man wearing a quilt-like cloak with a circle, wearing a pair of small sunglasses, with unshaven lips, and sparse teeth, asked while snotting his nose. No need, judging from the current situation. Rogue Town is the farthest away from us, so presumably he won't come to us so soon. Let's wait until he can really solve the other king's Chihuahai. Every year, so many people want to stand out, but in the end, without exception, all of them disappeared before they bloomed. Quote. You mean, this guy will be wiped out soon? I don't think it's possible. There are already several strong people around him. And the newspaper also said that even Admiral Sakaski and Garp were there in person, but they couldn't do anything about them. Quote. Is the Admiral very good? How is it compared to the one in Wano country? If he is really scary to a certain extent, then I will take the opportunity to lure that guy out to deal with them. And when the time comes, if they fight to the detriment of both sides, we can still reap the benefits of the fisherman. Quote. After saying this, a strange smile appeared on Don Quixote da Flamingo's face. On the other hand, on Qin Chuan's side, everyone also saw the contents of the newspaper immediately. I'll go, why didn't you mention me? I trapped Nasakasuki directly. After seeing that only 2 assistants, Douglas Barrett and Shaw Crocodile, were mentioned in the newspaper, Bartolomeo felt instantly unbalanced. You are not the boss in Luoge town yet, and you still want to be the headline of the newspaper. At this time, Shaw Crocodile, who was on the side, taunted. But in fact, among so many people, only his face is the most beautiful. It's all because he doesn't feel alone and ashamed now. Originally, he still had some grudges against those who had been mocking him. But now everything has changed completely. Qin Chuan not only defeated him, but also defeated the 2 powerful generals of the navy. Even the world government had no choice but to negotiate with him. And next, Qin Chuan will lead them to defeat the remaining Chihuahai kings one by one. At that time, the matter of being defeated will naturally not be mentioned by others. After all, everyone lost, so there is nothing to be ashamed of. After a long wandering, everyone finally came to a sea area with no wind at all. And here is what the world calls the windless sea area. In the windless sea area, the biggest feature is that there is no wind at all. So except for some improved ships and warships, basically other pirate ships cannot pass here at all. Because in this era, most pirate ships rely on the wind to push their sails forward. So when the Red Fourth arrived here, it stopped naturally. Looking at the endless sea in front of them, everyone fell silent. How did this thing get past? At this time, Bartolomeo was the first to speak. But Qin Chuan said lightly, Shaw Crocodile, your sand can be negated, that is, I want to use it as a strong rope, will it work? It's fine, but it won't work if it touches water. Shaw Crocodile answered seriously after being asked by Qin Chuan. There's no need to touch the water, your sand just needs to stick to the opponent's head exposed above the water. Head sticking out of the water. You mean? After hearing this sentence, everyone suddenly became confused. Isn't it claimed that there are a large number of sea kings here? Then why don't we just catch a few sea kings here and drive them to lead us forward? Qin Chuan said seriously. You know how to play the captain, and you actually treat the terrifying sea kings as pets. Bartolomeo couldn't help but praise. This Neptune class is the most powerful species in the ocean of One Piece. It does not refer to one species, but a collective term for many species that share similar characteristics. They inhabit the oceans all over the world, and they are called sea kings because they are like the kings of the ocean. Its body is huge, of various types, numerous in number, changeable in shape, long in life, extremely ferocious, and has the same intelligence as human beings. It is the creature most feared by navigators in the ocean. And at this time, Qin Chuan actually wanted to use them as playthings, so even Shaw Crocodile was a little surprised. But how do we lure them out? I am a devil fruit capable user, you don't want to let me into the water, do you? Shaw Crocodile said vigilantly. After all, Qin Chuan is a person who can think of anything and can do it, so if he wants to propose to let himself into the water, it is not a very strange thing. But people who have taken devil fruit have one characteristic, that is, they can't swim at all. So if he is allowed to enter the water, not only will all his devil fruit abilities be abolished, but he will also die due to drowning. And at this time, everyone present besides Qin Chuan is also a devil fruit capable user. It's okay, you just stand and watch my performance, wait for me to lure the Neptune out, Lao Sha, you should do it quickly. After Qin Chuan finished speaking, he snorted coldly through his mind. The next moment, a system voice came out. Ding, the host successfully used the Terumi Mei character card, and the number of possessions used -1. Terumi Mei is Mizukage, so Qin Chuan summoned her immediately. Afterwards, Qin Chuan stepped onto the deck and shouted loudly. Water escape waves are chaotic and steaming. The next moment, there was a sudden thunder in the sky, and then the Wanjiang waterfall fell fiercely from the sky. After seeing this scene, the other 3 people on the deck were completely dumbfounded. What kind of devil fruit ability is this? It's terrible, Captain Qin Chuan can summon the power of nature. This guy, what else is he hiding? Just as the three of them were discussing, these waterfalls fell on the water. For a moment, the originally calm and windless sea level instantly became choppy. Immediately afterwards, sure enough, a ferocious sea monster that was 1/3 the size of the ship jumped out of the sea immediately. Do it. Seeing this, Qin Chuan hurriedly shouted to Sha Crocodile, who was behind him. At this time, Sha Crocodile was also ready. As soon as the Sea King surfaced, he jumped to the edge of the deck with one stride, and then raised his right hand. Sand binding. The next moment, Sha Crocodile's right hand suddenly shot out an attack formed by fine sand. The attack shot directly at the Sea King's head in the next moment, and then the fine sand stuck to its head. At the same time, the strand of fine sand instantly formed a rope made of sand, and Sha Crocodile firmly held one end of the rope. In this way, Sha Crocodile can directly control this Sea King. After being controlled, the Neptune wanted to struggle, but the rope of fine sand kept it firmly trapped. So it couldn't get close to Sha Crocodile at all. In this way, this Neptune can only think about running away. Quick, control it, let it head towards the tree-shaded island in the distance. Seeing this, Qin Chuan hurriedly shouted. And Sha Crocodile nodded, and then began to try to control the Sea King with the power of his right hand. Fortunately, Sha Crocodile's strength itself is relatively strong, so this Sea King completely gave up resistance after struggling for a while. Immediately afterwards, it rapidly moved towards the daughter island under the control of Sha Crocodile. And when they were about to approach the daughter island, a large ship suddenly appeared nearby. Someone found us. Bartolomeo on the side immediately noticed the opponent's trace. It's probably the patrol ship of the Amazon Lily Kingdom, do you want to do it? Douglas Barrett also asked. Keep alive and let them take us to find their king. Qin Chuan narrowed his eyes and said. Good. After Douglas Barrett responded, he rushed to the edge of the deck with a stride, and then he jumped into the air with his feet using the force of the deck. At the same time, before the female soldiers with spears on the ship had time to speak to Qin Chuan and the others, they saw a figure rushing towards them. Everyone is ready to fight, the enemy is invading. At this moment, a blonde woman with slightly curled hair shouted immediately. But the next moment, when Douglas Barrett slammed heavily on the deck of the ship, the entire deck was instantly shaken. Immediately afterwards, the wooden plank centered on him quickly cracked in all directions. Go, kill him. Margaret, one of the soldiers protecting the country, ordered immediately. But at this moment, Douglas Barrett's whole body was wrapped in a layer of red-armed domineering. It's not that he thinks highly of these people, but he just came out and doesn't know the strength of these guys. Immediately afterwards, two female soldiers tried to stab Douglas Barrett with spears. And Douglas Barrett simply stood there and let them stab him. Clang, clang. Two crisp voices resounded instantly, and when the two iron and extremely sharp spears pierced Douglas Barrett's body, they were completely blocked. Seeing this scene, Margaret was completely shocked. Is this a devil fruit-capable user? At this moment, she began to panic. Obviously, the two sides were not on the same level, and her most urgent task now was to go back and report to Empress Boa Hancock. But when she was thinking about how to escape, she suddenly discovered that Douglas Barrett over there had already eliminated all the rest of the soldiers on the deck. And this battle lasted only 10 seconds. This time, Margaret's body also began to tremble. Who are you guys? This is the daughter island of the Amazon Lily Kingdom. Here lives our king, who is also the King Shichibukai appointed by the world government. So if you are acquainted, get out of here quickly, or we will let you die without a place to bury you. Quote. Hee, I am looking for your empress. Douglas Barrett smiled contemptuously, and then rushed forward with a stride. And just when Margaret was about to raise the bow and arrow in her hand and shoot an arrow at him, Douglas Barrett's fist had already slammed down on her face. Margaret subconsciously wanted to raise her arm to block it, but when her arm touched the opponent's fist, a crisp sound of click sounded instantly. And the next moment, she also flew out towards the rear with great pain like a kite with a broken string. Boom! Margaret smashed hard on the deck, and at the same time couldn't help spitting out a mouthful of blood. What's more terrible is that the left arm he raised just now has been completely broken by the opponent, and now he can't move at all. After seeing Douglas Barrett walking towards her step by step, Margaret also showed a hint of despair on her face, and then yelled at him. The great Amazon Lily Kingdom will never wither. Even if I die, you will never be able to defeat our king. Snapped. Douglas Barrett stepped forward when he saw Margaret and dared to beep. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and take us to your king. Immediately afterwards, Douglas Barrett picked up Margaret, jumped up and returned to the deck of the Red Fourth. Bring it back. After Douglas Barrett finished speaking, he pushed her directly to Qin Chuan and the others. You are the Qinchuan pirates. After seeing Qin Chuan himself, Margaret recognized him at a glance, and then asked tremblingly. HMPH, even if you are sensible, do you know Lao Su? At this time, before Qin Chuan could speak, Bartolomeo on the side had already spoken first. Who are you? Margarita glanced at Bartolomeo and said with a puzzled expression. I'm Bartolomeo, the black boss of Rog Town. You village girl is really clueless. I only know about Qin Chuan, Shaw Crocodile who turned out to be the 7th Marshal C like our Empress, and Douglas Barrett who escaped from the prison of Advance City together. Originally, it was fine if the other party didn't say this sentence, but when he said it, Bartolomeo was even more furious. At the same time, the two crew members on the side looked at him gloatingly. Boss, why don't I throw her into the sea and feed her to Neptune? Qin Chuan glanced at him, and then said quietly, well, how about you personally give her to the Sea King in front? Boss, I think it's better to forget it. No matter what we do, we don't need to haggle over with these girls. So I think it's better to hurry up and find the Empress Boa Hancock. Quote. Hearing that Qin Chuan actually wanted him to send the man away in person, Bartolomeo was completely stunned. Okay, stop talking nonsense, look at what is waiting for us on the beach. At this time, Douglas Barrett, who had been staring at the direction of Daughter's Island, said in a deep voice. After hearing his words, everyone turned their eyes to the front. At this time, a large number of female soldiers holding spears, bows and arrows had gathered at the port of Daughter Island. Is this really Daughter's Island? There isn't a single man. After seeing that the people here are all women, Bartolomeo couldn't help but wonder. Not before, but now there are 4. Go. Qin Chuan snorted softly, then waited until the boat was about to touch the shore and jumped on his own initiative, and then jumped onto the beach first. As soon as he landed, several female soldiers with spears gathered around him. Who are you? Get out of here quickly, or don't blame us for doing it. A glamorous woman with tall black ponytail and slender phoenix eyes immediately scolded Qin Chuan in a cold voice. Captain of the National Defense Warrior, Kikyo, I remember right. After seeing the other party, Qin Chuan recognized the other party's identity at a glance. You know me. When Qin Chuan called out her identity and name, Kikyo was also taken aback, and then looked at Qin Chuan suspiciously. I know the members of your Daughter Island well, so if you don't want to die, then lead the way. Otherwise, Daughter's Island will bleed like a river today. Quote. The next moment, Qin Chuan spoke slowly in a calm tone. As soon as this domineering speech was uttered, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became tense. At the same time, Margaret was also escorted off the ship. Margaret. After seeing Margaret being arrested, Kikyo's face became even uglier. Captain Kikyo, I'm sorry, I'm useless. Margaret cried and explained immediately after seeing her captain of the National Defense. Listen to my brother's advice. Don't make fun of yourself. None of you empresses are my opponents, let alone you little fellows. HMPH, if you want to see our empress, unless you step on my dead body. Kikyo's eyes turned cold, and then the spear in his hand was instantly entangled with a light red gas. And Qin Chuan had known for a long time that she was an armed and domineering person, so he immediately possessed Mate Kai on his body. Ding! The host successfully used the Matekai character card, and the number of possession uses -1. The next moment, when the Platycodon came over, before Douglas Barrett and others around him could make a move, Qin Chuan had already taken a step ahead. This time, Qin Chuan didn't bother her, and directly opened the 8-door dunjia to the 3rd door. Open the door. At this time, a green energy halo was quickly wrapped around his body. Immediately afterwards, just as Kikyo's spear was about to pierce his body, Qin Chuan disappeared instantly. What? Disappeared? Seeing Qin Chuan disappearing suddenly, Kikyo stopped abruptly and froze in place. That is, at the moment when she was stunned, Qin Chuan had already flashed behind her through the technique of instant body. The game is over, Li Lianhua. Qin Chuan smiled contemptuously, then kicked her in the back. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Qin Chuan slammed his right foot with light green energy on Kikyo's back. Although Kikyo is already surrounded by armed domineering at this time, her armed domineering is still too weak. So Kikyo flew out at the first time, and then hit the floor head-on. After being knocked down, Kikyo originally wanted to get up and continue fighting immediately, but just as she was about to get up, she suddenly felt a click sound from her ribs. Don't struggle anymore. I won't kill you today for the sake of your empress, but if you insist on resisting, I really don't mind killing women. Qin Chuan looked at Kikyo, who fell on the ground and couldn't get up for a while, and said such a harsh word coldly, then turned around and walked towards the huge palace in the center of Daughter's Island. At the same time, a long-lost system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully defeating the enemy. You have received a total of 10,000 reputation rewards this time. As he expected, a guy with such strength can only bring him 10,000 reputation points. But if the 5,000 prestige points required for the transformation were to be deducted, then he would only have earned a total of 5,000 prestige points. But even so, this was his first income in the past few days. Taking advantage of the effect of Matekai's possession for an hour, Qin Chuan also began to rush to meet Boa Hancock in the palace for a while. And because Qin Chuan defeated the Bellflower with one blow, the other soldiers around him didn't dare to act rashly at this time. In this way, the four of Qin Chuan came to the city's downtown streets. Ah, are these the legendary men? It's terrible, we actually saw a man. Captain Kikyo, why don't they stop these stinky men? At this time, the surrounding Daughter Island residents began to whisper to Qin Chuan and others. At this time, Qin Chuan suddenly remembered a strange picture in his mind, that is, the scene where Tang Seng went to the daughter country when he was learning scriptures. And this time they happened to be 4 people moving forward, only missing a white dragon horse. But just as Qin Chuan was thinking wildly, 2 huge women with the body of a python blocked their way. What are these 2 monsters doing? After seeing the 2 extremely ugly women with their long tongues sticking out, Bartolomeo couldn't help frowning slightly. These 2 are Boa Sandersonia and Boa Marigold. They are both Boa Hancock's younger sisters, and they are also the absolute main force of the 9 snake pirates. Sha Crocodile on the side took the initiative to explain. After all, he is the Chihuahai under the king, so he has a better understanding of the situation of the other Chihuahai under the king. A few of you are the Chinchuan pirates. I heard that you want to capture our king, right? At this time, Boya Sandersonia with long green hair asked with a solemn expression. You are not qualified to ask me so many questions. Qin Chuan also knew that he couldn't talk nonsense when dealing with these 2 guys at the moment, so he took advantage of the fact that Matekai's character was still possessed and sprinted up at a high speed. Seeing that Qin Chuan dared to sprint forward directly, Boya Sandersonia opened his bloody mouth in an instant and bit towards Qin Chuan. But Qin Chuan smiled slightly after seeing this scene, and then simply followed her mouth and jumped directly into her mouth. What? Captain Qin Chuan was eaten just like that. Seeing that Qin Chuan fell directly into the opponent's mouth, Bartolomeo was completely dumbfounded. What's going on? Even Sha Crocodile hadn't expected this to happen, and he didn't know what to do now. Don't worry, Captain Qin Chuan can't be killed so easily, let's just stand and watch the show. At this time, Douglas Barrett, who had experienced strong winds and waves, was able to hold his breath, and then he spoke lightly. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, Boya Sandersonia, who was still smug, suddenly changed his expression. The next moment, her face began to contort instantly. Sister, what's the matter with you? Seeing Boa Sandersonia showing a painful expression, Boa Marigold on the side also became anxious. At this moment, Boya Sandersonia suddenly opened his mouth again. At the same time, a familiar figure was holding her mouth with one hand. That's fine too. Seeing that Qin Chuan was safe and sound after jumping into the other party's mouth, Bartolomeo admired Qin Chuan even more. And it wasn't over yet, and then Qin Chuan jumped back to everyone's side. When he landed, before Boa Marigold could speak again, her sister, Boa Sandersonia, fell to the ground in pain. This scene also stunned all the people of Daughter Island present. At first, after Qin Chuan was swallowed, they thought they would win this battle, but in this short moment, the situation changed suddenly. Boya Sandersonia, who seemed to have killed the enemy, fell down so quietly. At the same time, Qin Chuan's system sent another reminder. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully defeating the enemy. You have received a total of 15,000 reputation rewards this time. I'll fight you. Seeing that her sister was knocked down like this, Boa Marigold was ready to attack Qin Chuan and others. But at this moment, a deafening female voice came from the palace not far ahead. Retire all, Captain Qin Chuan, I'll wait for you in the palace. After the voice came out, all the residents of Daughters Island immediately turned their attention to the palace hall. At the same time, Boya Marigold also cast a vicious look at Qin Chuan and others. But since her sister had already spoken, she had to obey the king's order. So next, all the soldiers protecting the country surrounded in front of Qin Chuan and others gave way one after another. HMPH, even if you are sensible, let's go. Qin Chuan snorted softly, and then strode straight up to the palace in front of him. After a while, Qin Chuan and others finally walked into a majestic palace. At the same time, sitting on a high platform in the middle of the main hall is a woman who is as beautiful as a fairy. A tall woman with long black hair, a pair of snake-shaped gold earrings, and a red python wrapped around her body was looking at them seriously. Originally, Qin Chuan didn't think how amazing Boa Hancock was in the anime. But after seeing the real person with her own eyes, she still surprised Qin Chuan. Are you here to look for me? Boa Hancock flicked his black hair, and then said slowly in a sweet tone. At this moment, not only did Qin Chuan and the others look a little distracted, but even the other soldiers from Daughters Island around them were also taken aback. After all, this Boa Hancock is so alluring, with her slender and white thighs exposed like this, coupled with her naturally charming appearance, it is hard not to attract the target of the opposite gender. You look much better than on TV. Qin Chuan couldn't help but praise at this time. On TV. Hearing that this strange man spoke such strange words, Boa Hancock was stunned for a moment. It's nothing, I just praised you for looking good. Qin Chuan then explained a little bit. At this time, except for Shaw Crocodile, who had already met each other, the rest of Bartolomeo and Douglas Barrett were seeing each other for the first time. Especially Bartolomeo. He is a young man with a vigorous spirit, and of course he will be more excited to see such a beautiful female pirate at this time. After all, Douglas Barrett was at that age, and although he also felt that Boa Hancock was particularly stunning, there was still no expression on his face at this time. Hi, my name is Bartolomeo, and I'm the main crew member of the Qinchuan pirate ship. Are you interested in getting acquainted? Just when Qin Chuan was about to speak again, Bartolomeo actually spoke first. Upon hearing this sentence, all the people present at Daughters Island looked at Bartolomeo, and at the same time, there was a hint of anger on their faces. What's your expression? Did I say something wrong? Seeing everyone looking at him with such weird expressions, Bartolomeo was stunned for a moment. When you see our king, you are already guilty if you don't kneel down. In the end, you dare to offend our king and insult our king with words. At this moment, Boya Sandersonia couldn't help scolding again. Just now she was more afraid of these people outside, but now that her eldest sister is in charge, she naturally has more confidence. Is this what I call insulting each other with language? What a bunch of women who have never seen the world. Hearing the other party scolding him, Bartolomeo smiled disdainfully and said displeased ly. You still dare to speak, believe it or not, I will kill you right now. Okay, sister, let them do it. Just when Boa Sandersonia was about to strike again, Boa Hancock stopped her. Obviously, Boa Hancock knew better than them that these guys in front of him were quite tricky. After all, Shaw Crocodile, who was at the same level as him, was already willing to submit to his patience, so Qin Chuan would naturally not be a fuel-efficient lamp. Looking at her side again, other than her, other people seemed unable to stop her. Therefore, if she really fights, even if she goes all out, it will be very difficult for her to be their opponent. After hearing her sister's words, Boya Sandersonia snorted unwillingly and backed away. But at this moment her eyes were still fixed on Bartolomeo. Have you had enough trouble this time? I don't welcome any men here, so what exactly do you want to do this time? Boa Hancock paused for a moment before questioning Qin Chuan coldly. Are you really not reading the newspaper, or are you pretending not to know the purpose of my trip? Seeing Boa Hancock pretending to be confused, Qin Chuan immediately exposed the other party's lies. Sure enough, after being asked such a rhetorical question by Qin Chuan, Boa Hancock's expression darkened instantly, and there seemed to be a lot of cold breath emanating from his whole body. Just relying on you, you want to defeat my Amazon Lily Kingdom. You must know that my kingdom is one of the United Nations of the world government, but it is protected by the world government and the Navy. Please, haven't you figured out the form yet? The old guys in the world government only care about whose fist is tough, and the weak are never in their consideration. In addition, let me tell you a secret, that is, the plan to destroy the King Chihuahai was proposed there. In other words, people don't want to play with you for a long time. As for whether your Amazon Lily Kingdom will perish or not, is it very important to the world government? With all due respect, you are located in a windless zone, and there are a lot of sea kings around, which is not suitable for business and trade at all. So whether this place exists or not is not worth mentioning to them at all. I say that, you should understand, right? Quote. Qin Chuan mercilessly mocked Boa Hancock in front of everyone present. And what he actually said is also true. Amazon Lily Kingdom itself wants to be a closed country, and has no contact with other countries. At the beginning, Boa Hancock also wanted to keep her country from being invaded by any forces, so she chose to accept the title of King Shichibukai bestowed on her by the world government. But now the situation is very clear. When the powerful Chinchuan pirates appeared and wanted to replace these guys, the world government played the role of referee. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.